And we're live. Welcome back to Lethal Garage. Guys, I have a special guest here. If you guys don't know him, his face is right over here on the other side of my camera. He's got like 2.4 followers on YouTube. 2.4 million. Jay's a big tech guy, and I've been fortunate enough. And, actually, I'm sitting here talking, and this song is terrible for it. Let's change that up. There we go. This is more of a good Jay intro. So Jay is a big tech guy. He's been very successful at it because he's one of the most honest, straightforward guys that stands for the community and doesn't get pushed around by these big companies. Actually, a great video he just released. Actually, I think it was this morning, right? About the Corsair water block. Yeah. Watched that this morning. Kind of interesting. I loved watching you try to break the EK block. You're like, yeah, no, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
Yeah. So, but Jay, he's really big into tech. If you like computers, if you like crazy stuff like taking air conditioners and water cooling computers and learning about new tech, all that stuff, Jay is your guy. He also has a car channel as well. And here I'm going to actually, we can show off his channel. So there's the JayzTwoCents channel. And then we also have, is that my phone? That's my phone.
That's your phone.
Mike, that's Mike. Mike Franz is trying to call me. Should we answer him live?
You should, because when he calls, it's important.
Oh, well, they're not going to be able to hear him. He's calling me back. I left him a message earlier. But Jay also has a JayzTwoCars channel, something he's been running for a while. So I'm not going to spoil the news of what cars Jay owns. I'll let him describe what he's driving and whatnot, because it's usually cooler that way. And yeah, Jay's a car guy. He's a tech guy. I'm a tech guy, but I obviously don't have a tech YouTube. Actually, if you look at some of my early YouTube videos, it was like I would post benchmarks on new graphic cards and water cooling and all that stuff. Like, I was totally into it, and I actually knew who Jay was before I actually met him, and we'll get into how we met. I think I've talked about it in a video before when we actually built the computer we're streaming on today.
EA Play.
Yes, EA Play. But Jay, I probably haven't done you justice, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, talk about the cars that you own, or well, talk about the cars that you owned up until 2 weeks ago. And then we can talk about your newest addition to the family.
How far back am I going, though?
Well, let's start with the silver one that's still in your garage, and then forward.
Well, I'll go one step before that. So in 2015, I had about a 10-year hiatus of having any sort of fun car, if you will. I just had an Altima, right? Because I got out of the car scene about 10 years prior because I wasn't in the right place. I didn't have the money. And let's face it, cars are expensive. So in 2015, I bought a 350Z, which was an automatic, but I did all kinds of work to it, got the suspension all done. It was a really fun car, but then I just wanted more. So then I got, later that year, a 370Z Nismo and sold the 350. So my goal with the 370 all along, though, was to build a track car. So that build went pretty far in terms of suspension and safety equipment and all that sort of stuff. And I think the problem is that reignited a bug, like a flame in me, and now I have currently technically four cars that I do stuff to, including the truck. Let's face it, trucks are just as fun, but for a different purpose.
It's true, very true.
I blame you guys for the truck, though. You and Mike. Both you guys were like, get around.
Hey.
You remember that, right? We were at that Gosh Auto car show, and I was like, I will never own another Chrysler product as long as I live.
Let's be fair here. You did do your due diligence. You looked at the competing trucks. You were looking at stuff, and you gotta also kind of take a step back. Mike kind of had the higher end of the 1500 Rams, and I had literally a half step above entry level Rams. So it's like you kind of got to see both of our trucks and what they provided.
Well, and I already owned a Silverado. It was a 2014. I looked at the new 2019 because the 20s weren't out yet, but the 2019 Silverados, and I saw that they wanted a premium with very little improvement.
Yeah. And I don't know, like when I was just at Jay's house not too long ago. What was it, last week? Or was it this last weekend? And got to ride around in his Ram. He's got a nice Ram Rebel, and dude, that truck is so many steps above mine, and they're like brothers. I mean, obviously it's a new generation, but God, I want to trade my truck. That truck ride this last weekend made me want to go trade mine in and go get a nicer truck.
The drive line is all the same, right? Same engine, transmission, rear end, but
well, I think it's a newer. I actually think they did upgrade the transmission, and then obviously the suspension and everything's completely changed, and it could tow more. so that's a good thing. But
Yeah, even though it's on coils on the rear, just like yours, when I was towing the Z around up to Central California and stuff when we were doing some racing up there, the back of the truck didn't really squat. You know, and it was with your trailer too, and you don't have a light trailer, so
yeah,
yeah, it does pretty good. And then once I went with the BDS 6-inch coilover lift kit, that just totally transformed the truck.
yeah, and it looks great. I mean, I don't have a picture of his truck, but it's good. They're saying you were
pictures of my truck. I should probably take some.
They're saying, well, actually, no. Wait, hold on. I might have one.
With the lift kit though?
Probably not with your lift kit.
Yeah, because I did a level first, like everyone else. But then I just kept going back and forth with the lift kits, and I think I got one of the first, if not like the first, coilover kit that BDS sold for this truck.
I don't know. That might be your lift kit, the one where you're out in like the field with the headlights
that's the
on.
level.
Oh, that's just the level
no,
kit.
no, you're right. That one is the lift kit. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got the lift kit on it here in this photo.
That's the one that people accuse me of using like a Chrysler photo.
That's a awesome photo. They were saying you were too quiet, so I just turned you up. So now they're saying it's better. But yeah, there you go. There's Jay's beautiful Ram truck. Seriously, it's a dead sexy truck. He has the right wheels, the right tires, the right lift. Like it's the perfect truck. You did it, Jay. Congratulations.
Yeah, and there's other pictures in that too. Obviously, if you slide right, but I went back and forth looking at the proper backspacing and stuff for a long time because I didn't want them to stick out too far. But I also, the wheels I had on their prior with just the level, they didn't have as much of an offset, so they were kind of tucked. So this is like right in the middle, and I really like the way it turned out.
You should send that photo to Chrysler. I bet they'll use it.
You know what's funny about that photo? We took that with the Sony A7S, which is actually a better video camera than it is a still camera. The mountains back there are not actually there in the photo. They are about, if you turn the camera like 45 degrees to the right,
yeah,
they were mountains to our right. And so I just used Photoshop and moved the mountains behind the truck because it was a better looking photo. And then I made all the light like match it. But
did you just say you move mountains?
I move mountains. Just say it can't be done. They've never met me.
Oh man. Okay, so back to your cars.
Yeah,
I
so
got on a tangent with the trucks.
So after the 370Z, I remember, what was it, 2017. I'm sitting in my old studio, and Nick was working for me at the time, Coconut Monkey. If you guys hear from my channel know Nick. He was like, dude, have you seen the new Camaro? And I was like, what about it? He's like, the 1LE. It's like, it's a really cool track package. And I'm like, Camaros can't turn. What are you talking about? Just like everyone else, because we're still thinking, you know, not the Alpha platform at that point. I'm thinking like F-body stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, Camaros don't turn. What are you talking about? And then I went upstairs and I watched the Nürburgring run that they did. The 716 run, which apparently isn't their fastest time, but it's their fastest
Well, that was technically the second Nürburgring because they did do one with the ZL1, and so you watched the one with the ZL1 1LE, right?
With the 1LE, yeah.
Yeah.
The ZL1 was already out. I'd already seen the ZL1. I thought it was a really cool car, but I wasn't that interested. As a person that really enjoys track, it was and the 1LE options has been around as long as I've known Camaros. When I was in a third gen Camaro club, when I had my 92 Z28. We had a couple guys with 1LE packages, a couple B4Cs, and I was like, oh, okay, the 1LE is usually, bigger brakes, maybe bigger sway bars, stuff like that. But this one being completely aerodynamic, it was a partnership with Pratt & Miller. And so it was kind of like, okay, there's something to this. So I started watching all the videos on it. And then I watched Randy Popes talk about it. And the more I watched it, I saw maybe 2 hours worth of videos sitting there. And then Nick was like down working on something on the first floor. And, he'll tell you, I stood up and I yelled, "As God is my witness, I will own this car. I swear to God." And he looked at me, he's like, "Really?" I was like, "I swear to God, give me a year and I will own this car." And I did. Go. And like 10 months later, I bought it. And then 3 months later, it was at Mike's getting the engine torn apart. I didn't wait very long.
Oops.
No, I didn't do anything wrong. It's just at 5,000 miles, I was like, 650 horsepower is fun, but it'd be more fun? More horsepower. So... yeah. And then that led to the whole, okay, this car's got, what really led to me wanting a classic car is, remember all the problems I was having with the 1LE? The more we modified it, the more fine tuning we had to do to all the stupid computers and the adjustments. And
remember that stupid harness issue that you had? Yeah, because
we burned through it on the header. It was a harness we couldn't see. We fixed it, obviously, but that just irritated me to the point where I'm like, man, my dad always talked about the days before computers, right? You have compression, you have fuel, you have spark, you have an engine that runs. And I was just like, I want to experience that. So then I started looking for classics for a while. I've wanted a classic car for probably the last year or so. But then I kind of just got motivated at some point over the last couple of months and just started looking. And then I picked up, what, 2 weeks ago, the 67, which has been both a love and a hate already in 2 weeks.
Show off some of those photos.
Yeah, do it. It's I think it's a really good car given its age.
So the photo with your wife in the driver's seat and your daughter's outside, how soon was that after you picked it up?
I had literally driven it because I bought it at a classic car consignment place. So it was privately owned, but it was sold through a consignment.
Yep.
I literally pulled it out of their lot and into the lot next to it. So I
nice.
Because they had it because of the whole COVID-19 stuff, they had like appointment only type of deal. You couldn't just walk in there. So they closed the gate and I pulled out, parked right next to it. And that was probably 5 minutes after I had given them the cashier's check.
Nice. And then of course you did the go-to in and out shot.
We had to. We've already taken the car to Sonic twice and In and Out twice.
So that was honestly, I think you posted this before you sent me a photo of the car.
I didn't send anyone a photo. That was the announcement right there.
Yeah. So I was like, because Jay and he had been calling me and texting me about multiple different cars you were looking at. And I had no idea you were pulling the trigger. I was actually going to follow up with you. I was thinking about it in my head because remember that one, the 69 that had the deal and you were waiting to see if it was going to go through or not.
It went through. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously, but, and then I went on Instagram. I was like, oh, Jay got his car.
It's funny. This wasn't the car I really wanted was a 67 that was a white car in Huntington Beach. And it had chip boost wheels on it that were just awful. But the car was done right. It was a nut and bolt restoration, front to rear. It had a crate motor 502 in it that was bored out to like a 512.
Yeah.
It just full Hotchkiss suspension. It had you name it. It had it done to it. And I was like, I really want this car. And I let some people talk me out of it. And by the time I was like, no, you know what? I think I want that car. I called him back and he was like, oh, I got a pending deal. And I was like, shit. And then that car, I missed out on that car.
Yeah.
The time I spent deciding on that car pushed me off on the 69 to where I missed out on that deal by about a day. So 2 cars that I really, and I still would have preferred a 69 over a 67, but the 67 appeals to me more than a 68, even though I hate the window wings.
Hey, those are air conditioners.
And they do work really well, but mine are all jacked up. And you already know that. We're ordering new ones. But I was like, this one at least is the one that started it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This was the car that came out, the pony car from Chevy, designed to be the everyman sports car to compete with Ford. And I'm me being a GM guy, this is kind of like nostalgia to me to own the first year.
It's a gorgeous car. I mean, you have done a pretty good job on your channels kind of highlighting and pointing out, again, JayzTwoCars. He's got, I think, 2 or 3 videos up now around the car and some of the things he's going to be doing to the car and stuff like that.
We have another one going live as soon as we end this live stream. Trust me, it's worth watching.
No, it's going live today?
It's going live today.
Oh, God.
Actually, no, maybe I'll put it live tomorrow, but it's worth watching, guys. Matt helps us. And let's just say it really does turn into how many creative ways can I hurt myself?
Yeah. How's your nose, by the way? Is it...
There's still a little dent, and the scab is gone. I had cut myself.
Oh,
my forehead hurt the most though from the leaf spring falling on it.
I only witnessed the hammer, so the rest of it was happening behind me as we.
But you felt the thud on my head through the leaf spring.
Yeah. I was like, "What is going on over there?" And Jay's just like, "Oh." Oh man,
it's totally worth watching.
So Jay, you got your ZL1 1LE. That is your basically. I mean, you can drive it around the street and whatnot. It's it's basically your track race car. Based on
my car's been on 5 different dynos, so I've got a really good idea of what kind of horsepower it's really making based on low reading dynos like that Dynamite, all the way up to Dynapack, Mustangs and Dynojets.
Yeah.
And as best as we can determine based on all the different dynos it's been on, it's making about 880 crank horsepower, which is giving me 760 wheel. It's my highest wheel horsepower so far. Lowest is 735. So we know what it's making at the wheels, and obviously, just by using the 15% drivetrain loss,
and we used a quarter mile track at Las Vegas Motor Speedway at CamaroCon because we suckered Jay in to go drag racing.
Well, you know what was funny about that is so many people were surprised to find out that, one, I had never launched a manual car ever prior to that day.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
But the fact that I was able to go like a 1.8 60-foot on street tire with 5,000 DA with a car with that much horsepower on a drive line that the computer won't let you launch.
That's better than Maple Fed. Oh,
and he had a drag pack.
No, it's funny because it's like I'm a big fan and I watch Cletus McFarlane and all things that they're doing over there, and a lot of stuff that they do have inspired, I wouldn't say what I do on my channel, but have inspired me in drag racing and stuff like that. And watching that man shift gears is awe-inspiring. Like, obviously my car's an automatic. Like, right. I cannot, if my car was a manual, I'd be stuck in the 10-second range. I know it because I would miss shifts. I'm not a good manual driver. Could I drive a manual? Sure. I can get by. I can get to point A and point B. Am I going to race someone? No. I'm not.
And see, I feel like I'm an above average manual driver. And even Mike was kind of surprised that day. He's like, holy cow. He's like, you've never launched a manual car. No, at first he was like, you never launched this car manual? I was like, no, you're not hearing me. I've never launched a manual car ever.
But I think you kind of have, though, right? I mean, if you take your road course track experience, you're launching your car out of a corner all the time coming out of Apex. And missing a shift there is just as critical as missing a shift launching the car.
Yeah, but you're not mashing the throttle on track.
True.
You're really just sort of rolling into it. And on track, I'm not focusing on how fast can I shift. It's how precise can I shift.
Yeah. I guess
so.
That's a good point.
It's a whole different mentality. And the times that I've had the ZL1 on track already, the time with the horsepower that it does have now, there's not a tire on the planet that can hold it back on track with how much torque it has.
Yeah.
So I've got to be real smart about the way I roll into the throttle. And so when Mike went out with me was actually the first time it was back on track after all the bugs were worked out. And he'll tell you, man, I was skating all around because it was taking me some time to relearn. Because when the car was stock, and the times I've tracked it when it was stock with the stock cats and all that, you probably lose 100 horsepower by the end of the session.
Yeah.
Just because of cat overtemp. And so you can actually just mash the throttle. The tires are hot, and you're now a 550 horsepower in a car, not a 650, and it's easy to hook. But with this car and the amount of cooling mods that I have, just like at the end of the quarter mile, I'm colder than at the start. That's how good the cooling is in the car because I built it to withstand 20-minute sessions 5 times a day in the heat.
Yeah, and I don't. That's one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is how much heat a car for a road course is going to generate versus a car that's just drag racing. 2 completely different spectrums, and that really killed my buzzkill because when I originally built my car, it was I was like, I'm gonna make the Swiss Army knife car, and then I put a converter in it, and I'm like, I'm no longer gonna do that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's but what's funny though is that the 370Z truly prepared me for the ZL1. I think the worst thing you could do is hop in a really high horsepower car that has very high limits, and then try and go and push it 10/10ths. I still haven't taken my ZL1 10/10ths. I've probably only taken it maybe 8/10ths on track.
Yeah.
And that's because I'll be honest, the more power you have, the scarier it is in the turn. Even if you're just doing momentum and you're cruising through the turn rather than actually like in the Z, you lose momentum, that lap's a throwaway. It only has 330 horsepower to the wheels, and so it's not a super light car. It's about 3,600 pounds. With the roll cage in it. So you lose your momentum, then man, you just gotta do your best to get it back before the end of the lap. So your next lap, at least you're crossing the start finish at the speed you should be. The ZL1, you can just muscle that around the track. You make mistakes in the corners, you just got enough straight. You make it all up with the horsepower.
Well, it's kind of crazy though, how small the cars are compared to each other and the weight difference. Like there's not that big of a weight difference between the two.
No, 3883 is what the ZL1 10E is, and about 3600 is what the Z is.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're talking what, 500 more horsepower in the ZL1.
Yeah, the power to weight ratio is a little bit skewed between the two.
Yeah.
One of these days I'll get out. I do want to actually get out and see you drive road course. I've only done road course a couple times, and they were never in my personal cars. I had been able to go to like rental sessions. So if you guys didn't know, I used to work in the game industry, and Microsoft had this really cool event for a Forza release, and they rented a whole bunch of cars, and we got to go. And they had a Camaro Z28. It was the first time I ever got to drive a Z28, and I locked up the rear end and threw the car off the course. It was the most shameful thing I've ever done in my life. But
Did the Z28 not have ABS?
No, it was me, because I missed a shift, and then I tried to salvage it, and I downshift, and I missed again. And by the time I did that, I'm like trying to manage this corner, and the car the rear end came back around because I finally downshift and got some power. It was just bad. It was all bad.
And I think that's just because I've only ever really tracked manual cars, is why like the shifting aspect of it isn't something I think about.
Well,
so I guess I'm just really fortunate, and that's all very, very tight muscle memory.
Yeah. Well,
but I could see how like, let's just say you even start to money shift on track, that's already scary. And then if you start screwing around with the gears and you're losing momentum, and then by the time you get in the right gear, if you're not, if you don't have the throttle position right, then you're going to lock up the rear because it's suddenly decelerating.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, I am not the best manual driver ever, and nor will I ever try to be. But it was just one of those embarrassing moments that I had in life, and I did not hold the Camaro flag very well that day.
What's funny is in most of my track events I've been to, and I look over at like my wall, where I've got hundreds and hundreds of professional photos of my track days. I just put some of the best ones on the wall, but I'm gonna knock on wood. Only the same way I have a friend who's been doing aggressive street bike riding as long as I've been friends with him now, which is high school. He's never been down on his bike.
Wow.
I've also never been off track. I've had two wheels off. I've had some close calls.
I'm gonna knock on wood for you too.
I've had people spin in front of me. I've had to dodge cars that are crashing in front of me. But I've never had an incursion, and I've never been off track. And I've still placed usually when I go to a race, to an event in my run group, run group's usually in between 30 and 40 cars. I'm usually top 3, never any lower than top 5, and more often than not, I'm first or second on time in our groups.
Yeah.
So I drive the car aggressively, but it's because I think if this were 10 years ago, I probably would have been off track a million times, because I would have that stupid, no fear thing going on. Yeah. But you fast forward now, and it's like, okay, I got a wife and kids and shit, that it's like, okay, I don't think I'm ever going to push it to that true edge anymore.
And that's kind of what prompted me to go down the path of NHRA safety in my car. Is one, I wanted to, originally I was going to be content with 9s, but I was like, if I'm going to do a cage and be safe, I'm at least going to try to build and push the car to that limitation, because that just makes sense. Why spend all that money to run speeds that don't require it? So it's kind of what pushed me, but also was like the limitation. It's like, okay, 8.5s as fast as I'm going to go, because I mean, that's 150 plus miles an hour in the quarter. That's fast. Yep. And if something bad happened, something bad is going to happen if the crash happens. But I'm like, to start talking going 7s, you're in the 180s, and start talking 6s, you're in to 200 plus mile an hour range. And yeah, I'm not going to go that fast. I'm just not. One, I'm way too big of a guy for a race car like that. And two, it would lose the fun, in my opinion. But
I don't think people realize just how much more mile per hour it takes to start dropping even just a tenth at that speed.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're talking from going to the power levels we're at, 800-900, 1,000 horsepower, to 2,500, 3,000 plus horsepower. Like, yep. And in money wise, you're talking from a build like ours, that's 60, 70,000 all in probably, versus 200, $250,000 plus. To build a car that's going to go 7 seconds, 6 seconds. So, 6th-gen Camaros have just gotten into the mid to, I think 8.4 right now is the fastest 6th-gen Camaro right now. Like full-bodied, still mostly same interior. There's obviously a couple cars that are mimicked after the 6th-gen design style that are legit like stock, bracket cars, but not full body 6th gens off factory lines. So
I feel like it's like baseball stats. right? It's like fastest gen with this mod or this and full weight, and like it's just
Yeah.
funny. Like there's so many different
The micro
asterisks.
the micro stats. It's pretty funny to watch guys battle after the NA stats, cam only, or what they call SBE, stock bottom end. It's comical. It's like, dude, this is a 6th gen Camaro. How fast does it go? I don't care what's powering it, whether you have nitrous or supercharged, turbocharged. It seems turbo cars are going to be the way to go. The efficiency, people are starting to figure them out on the 6th gens, but
I'm still real torn. I'm still real torn on the final setup for the 67. Like we've talked about this a million times, and I've gone back and forth a million times. I love the way the Pro Touring stuff looks. It's a bit more expensive though, because to get the true Pro Touring look, you've got to do things like the mini tubs and all that, right?
I did it.
Well, but you had a shell to start with. It was a lot easier to do.
Yeah, my car was naked. I had a naked car.
You did that before you started any of the body work, which is like totally the right way to do it. But it's like I had a lot of people that were truly questioning me, like, why'd you go auto? Why'd you go auto? It's like because it's a cruiser. It's a car that this car will never be on a road course ever. I can guarantee you that. Mike is like, we're building you for the drag strip if you ever decide to go. You know, that way you know it can do it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, we're talking beefy parts at that point, but I have no intentions of racing the car. To be honest, I don't want to risk the car. You know, I don't want to risk a stupid mistake or a mechanical failure that puts it in the wall. Hell, you, me, and Mike were together at Fontana Drag Strip when we saw a new Mustang put it in the wall. Remember that?
Yeah.
So I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be like, okay, I built this car just to watch it get destroyed now. You know, I want to enjoy it. I want it to be in the family for a long time. So I really don't see myself doing that. But I also know myself well enough to know I'm never going to be happy with quote unquote stock power. That's why even the ZZ6 that's in it is like more than 100 horsepower, more than the car probably had stock.
Yeah.
It's got to be built to my desires, which means loud, choppy cam. You know, it's got to be fast.
It sounds really good right now for the motor that it has in there. The muffler choice you chose just to get it a little more loud, I guess you would classify that as. I think it sounds really nice.
Oh yeah, those 40 series. It's kind of the 40 series Flowmasters are definitely an iconic sound for that car, like that era.
Yep.
But I'm really looking forward to the way the LS7 is going to sound with the cam and all that. And that was kind of my only requirement with Mike, was like, I want a nasty cam just because I don't have to worry about a cop. You know what I mean?
Yep. Totally get that.
But at the same time, it's like I'm kind of set on this 600 horsepower number at the crank. And it's funny because both Mike and LJ the other day were like, oh, come on, go more than that. And I'm like, yeah, but remember, I want my wife to be able to drive the car too without her being afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know? And then I've never even ridden in his car, so I don't know what that much horsepower feels like on a chassis this old, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think your chassis is going to be a little more squared away than his was, at least at the time, for the same kind of motor build. Keeping in mind, like, even with mine, I'm going to be at that same level you are, and it's not necessarily for the point of, you know, my wife will be driving my car, but it's more, the cars almost become no fun when you put too much power in these classics if you don't put the right suspension on them. And going the route that we're going, you know, I went full Detroit speed, front and rear. It's all set up, but I didn't do 4-link. I didn't do all that crazy stuff in the rear. It's still a leaf spring car. And any more power, I think I would just not have traction everywhere I tried to go. And I don't think it would be fun. It's a cruiser, right? So you want to drive it, but you don't want to be doing burnouts every 5 seconds.
There's so much debate around the rear end alone. Like, you know, as a road race guy, as a suspension snob, we've talked about this. I'm a brake snob. I'm a suspension snob. I will overbuild both of those because there's nothing wrong with overbuilding it.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, I like the way a 4-link looks. I like seeing the coils in the back. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, but it's also really expensive to do. But yeah, I like that. And I believe if I go tub in the back or mini tub, I have to relocate shocks anyway. So it's one of those things, like when I do the mini tub, I might do a 4-link while we're in there. Because if we're already welding stuff up, then we have to weld those 4-link brackets anyway. You know, so it's one of those things I might do. But yeah, that's why I had to completely rethink the way that I'm doing my build, because you were there actually when we swapped the idea of doing the mechanical work, where I was like, hey Mike, instead of doing engine build, why don't we start at the back of the car and work our way forward, right? So on Sunday we're doing differential, then we're gonna do transmission, then we're gonna do engine, and then before we even do the engine, I will have the chassis all squared away, which we've already started clearly.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people go right to the horsepower and then either
And realize they need a chassis upgrade after
they
breaking every
even,
part.
yeah, because they can even cause damage to the chassis, right? Without subframes and stuff, you can twist it quite a bit.
It's not even just the subframe. It's like the chassis and the corners at the windows. Like on the second gens for my car, it's the back windows where they're leaded together. I don't know if most people probably don't know this, but the bodies from Fisher, the roof and the A-pillar are separate pieces, and they get leaded together.
Even though they look like a single unibody, they're not.
Yeah, right. And so you get stress cracks there all the time, and you ruin the car. You could tell the cars that have been drag raced because they're
Right.
completely jacked up. But same thing with the first gens. If you don't have something that can absorb that twist, like something's got to give. It's
Right.
always at those weak points.
Yeah. Well, I think because of the fact that my car already has subframes and stuff in there, I don't know how good the subframes in there are, but there are subframes in there, and the chassis feels really tight. Like when I drive the car right now, that's why I'm so mad that my front suspension is so delayed, because I know I've got a ball joint that's bad, because you turn the wheel, you get the click. You know what I mean? You can feel the pop in the ball joint.
Yeah.
Body mounts need to be done and stuff like that, because I know right now if I were to throw horsepower to this, that front subframe would probably twist and move around so much. But yeah, I want to get the suspension squared away, because right now the two things that I hate most about driving this car is the transmission just being the way that it is, because it's an art car built transmission that's been out of adjustment for who knows how long. There was 2,500 miles on the build when I got it. It's over 3,000 now. I put a lot of miles on the car because I want problems to pop up,
Yeah.
So it's got, I think, just under 3,100 miles now. But the transmission being as out of adjustment as long as it is, something's not right in it. Something's burned up. 1 to 2. Like Mike's exact words were, "Man, your transmission grabs second, like no matter the RPM."
Yeah.
And so every time the car shifts, I feel like I just got hit in the back. Like I was using like John Cena drop kicks as an analogy, like from wrestling. And then sometimes the 2-3 shift is really like delayed, where it'll be much higher RPM than it should be, but then when it finally goes to shift, you can actually feel it kind of like start to disengage, but it doesn't engage the next gear, so it's kind of stuck in between, where it just kind of revs freely a little bit, and then when it finally grabs second, it's like bark and does it again, or third, I mean. So it's like, it's just not fun to drive when it's hunting all over the place. And even though I've adjusted the kickdown cable a million times, I think it's just some stuff is burned up in the transmission now, because it was out of adjustment for so long.
And I think there was at least one other incident that might be why
that was before all these issues I described were before I found out the car will go in reverse when going forward at speed.
Jay found out that transmission lockouts weren't a thing back in the 60s.
To be fair, it's a more modern transmission, but I think it's the shifter cable that does it.
Yeah.
Or the shifter linkage. So, but what's funny is my U-joints might be fine, because remember we went in there and it didn't have any play. But I think the vibration I was feeling when we took those wheels off, as I feel like they might not have been perfectly centered on lugs again when they went back.
Or you could have put the drive shaft out of balance.
Yeah, it's true too.
That you could have tweaked that arm. Like it might not play, but it's just tweaked enough to where you kind of feel that vibration now.
Right.
So you'll find out when you get your new trans in. You're going to get a new drive shaft.
We're going to get a new drive shaft anyway. Yeah. So, because Mike was saying that the transmission will be in the exact same spot, even with the LS. It's just once we get the new transmission, it's a different tail shaft or output shaft length, obviously. So it's got to be adjusted lengthwise.
It's going to be a cool car, man.
I'm looking forward to it. I have to practice patience. I'm learning these cars take a lot longer to get things for and get things ready. It's not like the ZL1 where I can just go to freaking Fast Tech or something and just put a whole bunch of stuff in a cart and it's here 4 days later.
Right. Yeah, for me, it's like the car, I could technically take my car home. Like we can just put a feather fill coat on it, call it a day, bring it home, build out the whole thing, and just drive it around gray. Like, I could do it.
Would you
And
really want to risk any of that bodywork getting messed up before the paint's on?
no. And that's what
Yeah.
I have to keep telling myself. Like, I could have a car and go drive it and be a happy person, and they'd be pissed off that I have to take it all apart and probably redo some body work. But it's just one of those things where it's just patience is key, and I'm really happy where the car's at. If you guys haven't seen, I think I shared some photos.
Well, it's funny because I'm going to be going through all of the effort to build this car up, and then once it's ready to do all the body work, I've got to take it all apart.
You're
You know. But
So
I think it'll make good content, like you said. Do it myself, learn along the way, get the stuff torn apart. If I break anything along the way, they can just fix it during the body work.
Yep.
You know.
You can see the last couple of months for me have just been the grueling body work. So like we just got all the sheet metal because we did new doors, new fenders, new front end. So that was a fun experience. Nothing lined up. And to be fair, nothing lined up on the car when I first got it as well, even with factory parts. But you can see we gapped the car. We finished
Speaking of gaps, we filmed another video of me replacing the front grille because remember mine was all broken.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We already knew the front of my car had some sort of impact, right? Because that one side was kind of like dipped down.
Yep.
It was funny to see just how far off it was when we went to put the new grill in. So let's say I had to do some homebrew body work to get the new grill in there, and it doesn't fit right. I've already come to the conclusion that I'm probably replacing fenders in the front chin and all that stuff, which terrifies the crap out of me because I know they're not going to fit right.
But are you sure it's the actual fitment, or is it just like, because what I found, at least in trying to fit all my stuff on my car, it was as simple as loosening a bolt and moving a metal panel.
Yeah,
and it's
it was
like
fitment.
little tweaks. But are you sure the new piece is exactly symmetrical? Because I've seen it where one side's a little bit bigger than the other. I would check that as well.
As best as I could tell, we were comparing it to the old one.
Yeah, looked the same.
But what happened was the front end has been rearranged a little bit, right? So we know that. I was kind of worried, like, uh-oh, is this car twisted? But the hood and the fenders and everything line up, up by the windshield. So I'm like, okay, I think it's just sheet metal damage. And we also found out that little fender bender in the front happened before they painted it because they painted over it.
When it was yellow?
When it was one of those colors.
Jay's car is 3 colors.
My car is the German flag. It is.
Yeah. My car didn't have matching doors. I had a white door and then my original door. And then the package tray came from a Firebird of all cars. So, yeah. I got a mutt car. But just for chat, there's a lot of people chatting, talking. What's up, Devin? You said what's up, Lethal? Yeah, get the chat going. Get going. Pure, is it Havoc? I'm assuming that's not the right spelling, but I'm thinking the pronunciation. I think
it's kind of funny.
It might be from your channel.
Well, normally my chat is like nonstop, and you can't read it, even if I don't have like a lot of people in there, because I don't, like on Twitch and stuff, I don't get a lot of viewers because I don't really promote it.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, I can't answer these questions because they're all chatting amongst themselves. But I think they're just having fun listening at this point. Maybe.
Well, I'm just going to throw it out there. If you guys do have questions or anything like that, post it in chat. I will kind of go through and we'll kind of have like a question time. But yeah, it's really, the whole point of today's live stream, people are still experiencing COVID-19. People are still stuck at home. Some states are opening up. Some businesses are opening up. Thank God. Hopefully the racetracks will start opening up soon. We can start doing stuff like that. But I know for me, during all the COVID stuff, I was able to accomplish a lot in some of my goals that I didn't think were going to be possible because the people who could work on my car had a lot more free time because they couldn't work. So
yeah, I was going to say, didn't you you had a goal for like October?
Yeah, and I think we're still, I don't want to say that we'll be done earlier, but we might be done earlier. So I was expecting at least another 2 months of body work, and I have a pretty good feeling we'll be ready for paint in 2 weeks. So the only curveball right now is the nose cone. We have to do a little bit of body work. So I bought a fiberglass nose cone. The typical setup is a urethane, and it's like heavier than heck. And it looks good, and it has a metal insert, but I bought a fiberglass one that basically is set up as if it had the metal trim piece already in it, so I could do all one color nose without chrome, because I'm not a big fan of chrome. I wanted body color, something a little more clean. Oh, look at that race car.
I'm showing that because someone in chat was like, Jay needs a racing sim. Like that's where I honestly do a lot of my practice.
Yeah, he does have one. But we're gonna have to glass, because when we put that fiberglass setup, it's like an 1/8 of an inch too small all the way around the whole front nose. And if you look at all the professional cars that use this same nose at SEMA, they all have that 1/8 of an inch gap. And I'm like, I don't know if I like that. And so we're gonna literally fiberglass it to make it true, so it's a nice, smooth, seamless transition. And it will be probably one of the only ones with this front nose that has that perfect alignment, I guess you could say. I don't know what that's worth to anybody, but I'm hoping it shows that we put that extra effort into it. So we'll see.
I think the gaps on my car are decent-ish. Like the driver's door.
Your gaps aren't bad at all on yours.
I think the driver's door sticks out a little bit, but I think I just need to adjust the striker.
Yeah.
Or like the stopper thing.
And I would be afraid to replace panels on your car unless you got yourself in a situation where if you do end up stripping the car and one of the panels is just so far gone, that would have to be. I mean,
because
in my book, that would be the only time.
You were telling me sometimes it's less hours to repair than replace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because if you have to massage a crap out of it to get it to fit right, you're talking welding and grinding and filling and welding and grinding, and I could see that adding up shop hours real fast.
I mean, unless you can find an NOS panel, which are getting really hard to find these days.
Well, I found an NOS grill and it was like $600. I was like, whoa.
That's not bad, to be honest. I was actually looking for grill inserts for mine, and I could only find the left side. I couldn't find the right side.
The only thing that concerned me was it was still sealed in the box, so they didn't open it. So I'm like, how do I know somehow moisture didn't get in there and start pitting the chrome, you know?
It's probably fine.
It's probably is a scary word to use when $600 is involved.
I mean, there's probably a return policy.
There's a couple questions in chat I want to grab here.
Yeah, go for it.
Somebody asked how many miles, sideways 117, so how many miles do you get out of the Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3Rs? I went through 2 sets. The first set was burned up at about 1,500 miles, the front specifically. Let's face it, the rear set actually outlasted the front, but it's a terrible tire for the street. It never grips, so it's always sliding, if you will. The tire is designed for the track. In fact, GM even had to come out with they had a recall of their supplemental manual. Like they had a recall for their manual because they didn't straight up say in there, hey, this tire is not safe for anything under 50 degrees Fahrenheit or any moisture. So people were crashing their ZL11LEs. In fact, I think the first known crash was that red one on the freeway that had hit the guardrail and ended up backwards, and the engine was like half hanging out and stuff because he was just driving down the road and it started to sprinkle a little bit and he hydroplaned and crashed. Now, to be fair, I've taken people for a ride in the damp weather with the Supercar F1 3Rs on my ZL1, giving people a 100 mile per hour burnout for fun, like taking them sideways on the freeway at 100 miles per hour in the moisture, just to show people how stupid the car can do it. But I have a lot of driving experience and I can handle it. I think there was an issue there also with unprepared plus driver experience maybe. Well, yeah. But apparently it happened enough to where they had to actually send out a recall to add pages to the manual telling people the tires are meant for, extreme dry summer weather only. The fronts burned up after the very first track day because even with the proper track alignment, the inner, it really scrubs the inside wheel of the inside tire. So let's say you're turning right. The inside of the right wheel or the passenger wheel is just riding on its edge. But the car has this really weird acronym to where when you turn the wheel, it changes the toe at such a degree that the tire is no longer rolling straight. It's rolling kind of sideways. So if you do real aggressive tracking like I do, I have a picture of my Camaro on 3 wheels actually, picking up the inside rear, but that puts a lot of stress on that front as well. And it just corded after 4 sessions. And if you can find tons and tons of people complaining about the Goodyears having amazing grip at temperature on track, but only lasting a day. So after that happened to me twice, I started running the R888Rs on the street, and I won't run another tire on the street because it's the best tire in between a drag radial and like a street tire, if you will. It gets really good mileage. I got 10,000 miles out of my last set, and then it has amazing grip. It's a little noisy, but it has great grip.
It's got that harmonic hum.
Yeah, it sounds like a dive bomber when you're on the freeway. But it's the same tire I actually was able to do some really fun drag racing at LVMS with. So it's a great tire, but on track, I'm still searching for the right tire because I've run this Michelin Supersport Cup 2s, which everyone swears by. Worst tire I've ever driven because the car is just too heavy. It's designed for the Porsche GT3 RS, which is 500 pounds lighter and a lot less horsepower.
It would be interesting to. I know the Trofeo R's got replaced or outclassed that they used on the Z28. I'd be really. I know they came out with a new tire. I'd be curious to see if the
$540 a tire. I considered it, but $540 a tire.
It's cheaper than the ceramic brakes.
Yeah, I think I'd have steel.
Yeah, right. I think that's one of the big reasons everyone thought the ZL11LE was going to have carbon ceramics, or at least have an option for it. But the engineers straight up came out with, like, this car does not need it. Like, it could stop with, 6 spots.
There was another question here. Where'd it go? Don't you guys when I'm ready? I answered that one.
You got a couple. Jay, what wheels do you have on the 1LE?
Oh yeah, so those are the HRE RC104s, which is from their lightweight forged racing wheel line. They're ridiculously light. You know what's funny? They weigh about the same with tires on them as my stock wheels did, because the stock wheels, which are actually the wheels I track on, I don't want to track on my really expensive HRE wheels, ironically, because they're designed for the track, but I won't track on them.
Don't want to mess up that finish.
They're 16 pounds. They are significantly lighter than the stock wheels. However, the supercar F13Rs are way lighter than the R888Rs. So they balance out at the end of the day. I don't really have any improvement to unsprung weight there. But yeah, they're a great. I love the way they look. I like that I went with the bronze. Kind of copied Matt a little bit there, but the bronze on white is just a classic combo. Yeah, I really like them. The stock wheels though are still one of my favorite wheels for the car. Because I now track on those, I don't run them on the street, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I feel like wheels are the quickest way to transform the look of your car to make it your own, because everyone's got different tastes in wheels.
I hate the wheels on my 6th gen. Hate them.
You what?
I hate the style on my 6th gen.
But you're limited. You're limited though.
No, I'm not.
Your choices, right? Because of the bead lock.
I was limited at the time because that was the only thing they had in stock. So I ended up buying them and telling myself in the back of my head, okay, I'll sell these and get different ones. I just never have.
You're talking about the bead lock, right?
Well, the bead locks and the fronts are the same design.
Right, yeah.
I think they're the S77s or 79s or whatever they are. But yeah, I need a new design.
I never would have guessed you hated them because I like the way they look.
It's just too much. They're too busy. You can't see I like seeing brakes. So I like the God,
your little baby brakes back there.
Little baby. I guess that's true now. They're well, actually, it's funny. They're really not that small, but yeah, it's a 15-inch conversion, so it's I guess they are baby. Jeez.
Javier Alcala says, "What's the loudest exhaust system for a V6?" Can we both agree that maybe you shouldn't go loud with the V6?
Yes, I agree. I'll agree with you there.
The GM V6. I don't remember exactly what the engine code is for the new ones, but they're a good V6. They make good power. What, 330 or 320 horsepower, something like that?
No, I think it's 395. No,
are they that much now?
No,
no. That was like 330.
Hold on.
Yeah, that was like V6 for like 330.
3.6 liter V6 Camaro.
They make good power, but they don't make good sound.
Yeah, especially with the AFM and all that stuff. It's
yeah. I'm not hating. Like for instance, the VQ, the V6 that's in my
305 horsepower, 270 pounds-foot of torque.
So the 370Z, the VQ, it's the 37 VR or VHR actually, because it's a very high rev motor edition. The VQ sound is iconic. It's just so good, but not all V6s are created equal in terms of like header length and tuning. And so and you know what makes the VQ sound so good? Honestly, they're unequal length headers, a lot like a Subaru. So you kind of get a dual tone in them.
And GM's 3.6 doesn't have headers. It has a built-in manifold with like a 4-inch pipe coming off the side.
Oh yeah, see these
back
the 370
in
comes with the 370. The VQ has like factory shorty headers.
Yeah, GM killed the sound of their V6 when they did that. They built the manifold on the block, and I don't know why they did that. Yeah.
Maybe for space? Well, no, they got a V8 in there, no problems.
Hey Jay, do you autocross?
I've
or
done
would
autocross.
You have?
Oh yeah, I've done autocross. None of my cars are really kind of like set up for it. It's a totally different setup.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun. Like I wouldn't mind autocrossing if I had like something small. Yeah, I can't think of a car. The problem is small cars and myself don't really get along. I have the same problem you do.
Yeah. Jay, how tall are you, Jay?
6'4".
Yeah, he's 6'4". I'm 6'5". We're considered giants, and we don't fit in small things. I'm gonna go get a Miata. Let's go do that.
Dude, I cannot physically get. So I belong to the Nissan Challenge track organization, if you will. It's just a time attack group of different Nissans, different classes and stuff. One of our guys in there used to also do spec Miata racing. So he would be at the same event with us doing the Super Miata races, which are the wheel-to-wheel racing. Yep. And it's funny because he's like 5'6". He's not very tall. And one day, for the hell of it, I was just like, let me see if I can get into your Miata. So the door opens, and it's a hard top conversion for it, right? So it's no convertible top. Dude, with the door bar, it's not happening. I cannot physically get in the car, period. It does not, it cannot happen. I physically cannot contort my body over the door bar and under the roof.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, you don't need roll cage for autocross anyway, but I can't. I've sat in a Miata. I've sat in a new S2K as well. I say new, like, you know, an S2000. And it was funny because I was riding along with someone in our group on track, and I was passenger. And it's funny because there's photos of us out there, and you can see my helmet sticking up above the A pillar and the B pillar. It's like, that's not safe.
Is your helmet white so you look like a big zit?
No, it was black.
There's a question. Pirelli's or Michelin's best tires for the SS? I'm going to say Michelin, the Pilot Sports, or even the PS4s, the new ones. I don't know if, Jay, you have a suggestion, but if you want a longer lasting tire that grips, I think Michelin is probably the better. Some people say the Contis are pretty good, or the Nitto, or the
I can talk about the Contis.
555s. But
yeah, the N555s.
555s.
I've never driven the Nitto, but I can tell you that Nitto and Toyo are the exact same tire compound, just like the trucks. But when it comes to the Continentals, so I don't think Continental gets as much recognition as they deserve. So on the Z, for a while when I had my TE37s, the tires I had on there were actually the new redesigned Continental Extreme Contact Sport, and they were a pretty amazing tire. And what's funny about them is they were rated at like a 320 tread wear, which I would never take a tire rated for 320 tread wear on the track, but everyone kind of swore by them. They were designed by 4 different GT LM race car drivers. And so they had thousands of hours of, you know, these drivers giving feedback on the tire. The only problem with Continental is they're kind of pricey. I don't know what it is about their brand, but they are pricey.
They're not more expensive than Michelin's, so.
No, they're not.
The DW Extreme. I think is it the DW Extreme Sport, or I don't even know.
Yeah, and I would never run a DW. The Continental Extreme Contact Sport, the new ones, they're a redesigned compound from the DWs. The DWs on track will chunk real bad, but so would the Michelins. The Super Sports were known to chunk as well. But I think if you're talking about street and value, I think you'd get more out of the Continental than the Michelin. Compared to Pirelli and Michelin, I think you'll get better out of the Michelin.
I'd stay away from P0s. They're like glass unless you only drive your car in the summertime. It's like
yeah,
just terrible.
And then when it comes to which Michelin, like you said, the Pilot Sport 4S is a really good tire.
It's their newest one too. Has a lot of tech behind it. I've been in a couple cars that have them, not just Camaros, and like it changes the way the car handles. It's kind of mind-blowing how much, I mean, obviously power, suspension play a huge component, but if you don't have the right tire, and it's not so much just putting the power to the ground, I mean, even at low speeds or taking corners and stuff like that, there's so much into like sidewall flex and
Mm-hmm.
size and all that stuff that comes into play. And I honestly, like the P4s, like I haven't felt that comfortable in a car before. And actually,
And you know what's funny?
or go ahead.
That's what I hated most about the Cup 2 Michelin.
Well, the Cup 2s were like you drove one lap around a track and they were useless. Like, and I heard that from a lot of people, and I drove in a car that were cycled, and it was just they were not.
So the next time you're hanging out over here, I'll have to let you watch my PDR footage of when I actually caught up to and got a forced point buy out of a brand new ZR1. That was kind of like goals right there, especially since the guy was a little bit of a trash talker in the paddock. But anyway, how hard I had to push my car to catch him, because I had to pass 4 cars to get to him because he was P1, and so I had to get through traffic to get to him. But how hard I had to push my car to catch him clearly pushed the tires over the edge, because by the time I caught him and we went down the front straight at ACS, I had to point him back by again because my tires were at that point, they were too hot, they were greased up, and they don't come back.
Yeah.
And so, but what I hated most about the Michelins, believe it or not, was they have a super soft sidewall versus the Goodyear. The Goodyear has a very stiff sidewall, but again, that tire was designed for the weight of the Camaro, and the Michelin was designed for the weight of the Porsche.
Well, I don't know if you can answer this question, but I mean, obviously, I had my R888s, but I never was in a setup to where I can go take corners like a crazy man. How do you feel about the R888s in cornering? Because from what everyone says, they are like one of the best tires you can get for higher horsepower and traction.
We're talking the R, right?
Yeah, the R888Rs.
So that day I was so tempted to, because I had them with me at the track. I always bring a second set of wheels and tires with me just in case I pop one, right? I was so tempted that day to put them on the car, but my driver and my instructor, Stephen Doherty, has been coaching me for like 3 years now. He was like, look, leave them on. If you hate these tires, burn them up. He's like, have fun, let them slide, just do whatever you want with it. He's like, but you're getting invaluable driver experience right now. He's like, you're taking a car that's got almost 900 horsepower, you're taking it around a track, you're sliding, you're fighting it, your hands are extremely busy, and you're learning how to control this car on ice. He's like, that is invaluable. He's like, so take it. He's like, if it were me, I would just keep driving it the way it is. And then when you get the proper setup, you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is amazing. He's like, don't just throw the tire out right now and get a new tire and start over. He's like, learn to drive it in these conditions and you'll thank me later.
Yeah.
But the other thing about the R888R, I've read a lot of feedback from a lot of the guys that are tracking the ZL1 1LDs, just like myself. And they all say it's a really good colder temp tire, but in our climate, with how hot the surface temp can get, they really do have a bit of a peaky grip design. So once you hit max grip, it falls off hard. And not to where it's dangerous, but they do become greasy. So it's and it makes sense because that's why I run it on the street, because it's the only tire I put on the car. And I spent $15,000 the first year having the car just in tires, trying to find the right set.
I remember that. I was harassing you because I'm like, Jay, the man who has new tires every other day. He's
yeah,
like,
because
I don't like these ones.
Yeah, I mean, but let's face it, a great car can be ruined by a terrible tire. And so when I finally found the R888Rs, I'm on my 3rd set because it's gotten to the point to where it's the only tire at road temperatures that can handle the power. So it makes sense. It's a very soft compound, 100 tread wear is what they say. I think they're lower than that, but you know, they're just putting what they print on the tire.
Yeah.
DOT
restrictions. Therefore, it's still a highway tire.
Right. And it's hard to imagine a tire that has this much grip at cooler temperatures, because let's face it, on the street, the tire never gets up to the 200 degrees or whatever it can be. There's no way it can have that much grip at temp as well. Otherwise, everyone would be running it.
Right. I'll be right back. My dogs are freaking out at something. Hold on.
Tires becoming greasy. I've never heard of that. Well, okay, so every tire has oils in it. I finished chewing my jerky. So
Come here. Hey, you guys haven't met my dogs. Come here.
I'm answering a comment here about tires being greasy. He's like, I've never heard that. So every tire is made up of different oils, and it's the same reason why Matt does a big burnout on his drag tires, because you have to bring those oils kind of to the surface, and that's what makes the tire, wake up, if you will.
Say hi, Brady, Lexi.
So when Matt does a big smoky burnout in the burnout box, it's not just to heat up the tire. It's also bringing the compounds to the surface, the oils and the other makeup of the tire. The same thing happens on a street tire, on a road racing tire, or whatever. And what you'll find on a road racing tire is the compound gradient changes from inside to outside. It's softest on the outside on the shoulder and hardest on the inside. A drag racing tire is it's the same compound usually across the entire tread, and based on, now you're talking bias plies and all this other stuff. But when it comes to a racing tire, when it gets hot and those oils start to come to the surface, it changes color. Actually, my Pilot Sports are blue on the shoulder, and that's the oil. And what's funny is you can take a matte gas torch and just hold it, like kind of wave it in front of the tire, and you'll just see it burn off, and it just goes away.
Sorry,
But yeah,
while you were talking, I was playing a Burnout.
oh, there you go. So what happens on a street tire, or let's face it, unless you're running a slick, any track tire that's DOT approved is a street tire. They're going to all happen at different temperatures and different conditions. And you're talking, track temp versus air temp versus how are you driving the car? The way you drive the car matters more than anything else. But yeah, so greasy just means you got the tires so hot to the point to where all the different compounds across the tire have started, sweating their oils, if that makes sense. And when that happens, then the tire gets greasy. And the reason, what I alluded to earlier when I said once I overheated the Cup 2s, they don't come back. What that means is that until I get the car off the road and sitting and letting those oils sort of dry and reabsorb, the tire will stay greasy the rest of the track session.
Well, yeah,
even if I slow down.
You're literally heating the tire up to the point to where the components that make the tire starting to separate.
Right.
So yeah, and oil and grease is the first thing that comes out before the tire starts falling apart.
Now that's why you hear a lot of people talk about, well, how many heat cycles can you get out of a tire? A heat cycle is every time you bring it up to temp and then bring it down again. So yeah, you can get into the science of a tire and talk for hours and hours about that. But yeah, the tire is usually rated in heat cycles, and the compound and all that sort of stuff. It's a fun science, but it's like oil. Yeah. What oil's best? Oh, that's going to be a discussion that never ends.
No comment. It's royal purple, don't you know?
Royal purple gets gunky.
So we've I guess there's still quite a few more questions kind of up in here. Alyssa jumped in and said, "I'm here for our Huskies to meet each other."
Oh yeah. Where is Zuri? Where is my dog?
Outside of the locked door, waiting for you.
She's inside, or she's out the backyard right now, having some outdoor time.
This is a question from a little bit ago. What do we think of a Porsche 944 as a project car?
I don't like the style.
I mean, I hate to say this, and a Porsche person would probably slap me, but I would call that a Datsun. Is that bad? Like, it just looks so much like a Datsun. Like the old school, what is it, the 240s, the original 240s?
Yeah, I could see that. Like, to me, they've always kind of looked like a cockroach.
Yeah. I mean, no, I love a good Porsche, but I'm more of the big fender, big curves like the 911s or the...
you know what?
God, what is the
Anytime the 944 comes up, the same Porsche enthusiasts always say the same thing. The engine's in the wrong end. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
God, what number? My Uncle John used to have all of the Porsches. He's a big Porsche aficionado, and I'm bad at Porsches. I'll be honest with that. There's a couple that I've seen out there that I really like, and the ones that I really like are more expensive than I'll ever be able to afford.
Yeah.
The ones that I hate, like the 914s, I think are blasphemy of Porsche. But a good old fashioned
996 or go home.
Yeah, a good old fashioned 911. They're nice. They look nice. They have really nice curves. They're fast looking cars, but it's an expensive car, and I don't think that's what he was talking about. He's more looking like, what if I restored our project car for that? And I mean, if you could find a cheaper, nice 911, I'd go that route over a 944. That's just my personal opinion.
I'm gonna scroll way back up here. Sideways again asked about brake pads. He's asking about brake pads for the Z01. How often do you have to replace brake pads?
Always.
No, because I still run my metallics on the street. I've gone through too many different ceramics. I'm like, okay, look, here's the deal with ceramics, and I think Matt will disagree with me, but he's had different experience with brakes than I have. Um, I have not found a ceramic pad that hasn't reacted poorly with the steel in my rotors. I'm still running the factory GM rotor, the same one that came on the car, and I don't rely heavily on my brakes when I'm on track, so I don't tend to really burn them up too much. Although ACS is a different story because you are going from 163 to 165 miles an hour down to about 30 for turn 3, which is a chicane. Every time I put ceramic pads on my car, I get really bad deposits all over them. You remember how bad they looked at that one meet we did?
Yeah. I think you just had bad luck. Because
I've tried 3 different brands.
I've never seen anyone have the problems that you had with ceramics, and
I've found them all over Camaro 6.
And I'm not going to be the guy that's going to sit here and praise ceramic brakes because they do have problems.
But you have changed your rotors, no?
Yeah. Well, I think you have to have a proper rotor. Now, I don't run a factory rotor in the front or the rear,
and that's why I'm thinking I'm getting a metallurgy issue with the GM steel.
Probably. I mean, that would be a good assumption based upon the problems you've had, and then knowing people who have gotten aftermarket setups. There's quite a few out there that people are running, and I don't want to name names because I don't want to seem like I'm playing favorites on brands, but yeah, like your issue was so weird.
But my issues happened with 3 different brands now.
That's weird.
And so that's how I know. I think it just has something to do with the steel that's in the stock rotors.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't changed out my rotors for drilled and slotted or any of that crap because the braking system that's in the ZL1 1LE, identical to the standard ZL1, it's just they're red and say 1LE on them, handles a lot of heat. So Brembo brake systems for a street car, 6-pot Brembo, is not the same Brembos they run in a race car.
Nope.
In fact, most race cars only run a 4-pot front, not a 6. But there's a completely different caliper design that makes it much more able to withstand heat than a stock street setup.
Isn't it heat and weight variance on those?
Well, the weight is just the benefit, but it's all about the heat. It's all about the heat. And what's funny is you'll notice none of the race car brakes are actually powder coated because that's another insulator.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, so for the longest time, I didn't have brake pad options. In fact, I think that's the first thing I told Matt. I was like, this stupid car doesn't have brake options. Nobody makes pads for this car. I'm like, what the hell? The CTS-V uses it. The ZL1. Now there's too many options.
Yeah.
There are way too many options. You can get it in any brand, in any compound you want now, and it's almost overwhelming. Now, so when I was running, what I was running at ACS was Carbotech, XP12s in the front and XP10s in the back. And Carbotech is a straight up, highly aggressive, metallic pad, and a carbon metallic pad. And so what's funny is there's a picture on Instagram actually of me taking a honing tool with an air grinder and grinding it all off the wheel or the rotor. Amazing brakes, but I think I shaved, I don't know, probably a good third of the pad off from that one track day, and probably took about a millimeter and a half or so off the rotor from that one day.
That's a lot.
Extremely aggressive, but an extremely aggressive track too, with a very high horsepower car. I was like, okay, these are consumables. Let's just make sure they work.
Yeah.
You know.
Should we
but for the street, again, ceramics are awesome if you don't want dust. But I just decided to stick for the street. I still run the stock Ferroto pad, which is the Italian company they put on the Brembos. And I just ceramic coated the wheel that way they don't stick.
Now,
I went that route.
We can get the controversial route of slotted and drilled. Now, I've heard a lot of tracks are starting to say drilled is like a no-no because so many brands, there's so many cheap brands out there now, they're just shattering.
Race Brakes was one of the first ones that I saw for the Camaro to actually separate. The disc came off the hub.
Yeah, and I've seen drilled brakes in high heat conditions or high wear conditions on road course where they literally just shattered and cracked. It was enough for me to see it, regardless of my application, to be like, I would never buy drilled rotors. That just seems bad. And
do you want me to go into why, or do you know why?
Well, I mean, I know why in a sense, but I'd rather you talk about it because you're a lot more, you have more detail. You have more intellect.
This is definitely something I've looked into a lot. Like on the Z, I don't have cross drill, but they are slotted and they are two-piece floating rotor, just like on the ZL1. Um, what happens is a lot of these companies, they drill. So cross drilled has nothing to do with cooling. People think it does. It doesn't. Cross drilled is about weight reduction. Slotted is about cleaning. It's not again. It's not about. It's not as much about cooling like people think it is. People think slotted is designed to allow gases that can build up between the pad and the rotor surface material to. It's like a tread in a tire, right? It's where water can go to get out of the way. That's not what it's for. It's actually designed to continue to scrub the pad clean as it goes around. So you'll get these edges that build up on the edge of a pad. And every time it goes over, it just shaves it clean. And then it gets caught in that channel and then it flings it out as it's rolling. So it's not as much about heat as it is about keeping the pad materials clean. But a lot of these companies they'll make their rotor and then they drill them after the fact. And the problem is if you look inside the rotor, there's cooling veins in there. That's where the cooling of the rotor comes from. As it's rotating, air is being scooped into the rotor vein and then being pushed into the hub. So it's some rotors are actually kind of a reverse flow where it's almost like a backwards fan. But anyway, what's designed to happen there is heat is designed to get expelled from the hub. Rotor hub is where you need to keep it cool, not the surface of the disc. The hot disc will soak the hub and then you'll have wheel bearing failure. But a lot of these companies, they cheap out, and so they just drill them after the fact. And sometimes they drill through those veins. Those veins not only are there for cooling, they're also structural support because it's basically two rotor halves put together with the veins in the middle.
I got a picture up, kind of showing what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so what happens is these companies drill them after the fact. The true cross-drilled rotors that you'll find for like the Brembo race applications and stuff, you'll notice they're also not a steel color. They're also like a yellow sort of a color because the type of material that they make them out of are designed to handle much more heat than what you're getting on your stock rotor setup. So what happens is people will get these cross-drilled and slotted rotors or their rings or whatever that look cool and they look like a race car, but they're made out of just basic steel that they then take out in a track and get them so hot that they start to crack. And they crack at all of those where all those holes are. And those holes, if they were not drilled in the proper spot and they're going through a vein or a support, then you get the catastrophic failure. Yeah. But you'll also notice too, like the Brembo ones that are true race brakes that are drilled have way, way, way more holes in them, like a lot more holes. So yeah, a lot of tracks have started banning those types of setups in sanctioned races. The problem is you go to like, HPDE event or high performance driving event, it's all honor system. You have to take your own car. So you still have to be worried that the knucklehead next to you is driving something like that.
Yeah, no, and that's all really good information. Most people don't realize that. They're just like, yes, I've been told holes in my rotors are cool, so I want that. Like the rotors I have right now on the front, obviously I have a solid setup in the rear for the 15-inch conversion, but my front setup, and I don't even know if there's a benefit here. Maybe you might know, Jay, because I don't know the answer. I looked at their marketing lingo, and they're cryo frozen or cryo freezed. I guess what happens is when they forge the actual plate, they then cryo freeze them, and I guess it makes the metal stronger. I don't know if that's true. Maybe I'm saying it
almost
wrong.
Sounds to me like that's their way of putting it through a full heat cycle, both hot and cold. That way it doesn't heat expand or shrink.
I almost have to Google this.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Cryo, because it's like, I don't know. To me, it seemed like marketing. Malarkey.
Same thing with the black rotors. The black rotors look cool.
I was like, yeah, I get a can of rattle can spray paint. They're not black for very long.
No.
I can't find anything.
I gotta stop talking. Cooper Coldwell said, "I've only seen Jay talk."
Well, that's because Jay's very smart around this stuff, and it's important. Well, I guess we can kind of change topics here, and there's a good question in here. I guess it would make you talking, so we'll ignore it for now. So I guess we can keep talking about classics. We've been kind of talking about the newer cars and modern day stuff. So let's talk about Pro Touring. Let's talk about what that means to car builders and why you hear that term thrown around so much. And you may hear the term restomod, you may hear the term pro touring, you hear ground up restoration, you hear factory original restoration. Yeah, there's a lot of different terms out there. And for those of you who are interested in classic cars, Jay has talked about his 67. I have been in the trenches building from the ground up a 71 and a Camaro.
I want to be in the trenches.
No, we're gonna throw you in the trenches. That's what's gonna happen. But all of that being stated, you know, a lot of people, like, if you go ride in an old classic car that's factory restored to how it was in let's take Jay's car for example, 1967, the way that car came off the line, and yeah, you won't like that car. You just won't. You look at it and you're like, oh, those were so pretty. They were so nice. And then you sit in it and you're like, okay, there's no power, nothing. That's fine. That doesn't bug me. My resto mod or pro touring mod is going to have crank windows because it's something I want to have. I want to keep a little bit of that nostalgic.
I'm leaving mine cranked too, I think.
To that. But that being stated, like, the tires on the car, I think they were, what, 215 or 220 or something like that? Like, tiny little tires. Now, keep in mind...
I think it depends on the trim, right? I've seen some that look like donuts.
Now, obviously, there's a big power difference from today and 1960s. The way motors were built in the 60s and earlier, tolerances were totally different. You couldn't squeeze the kind of power we have nowadays out of motors from that time.
You had to go big block to get power.
Yeah, and they just didn't have the tooling. They didn't have the setup. They didn't have, like, it just wasn't there. Technology was not there. And so you go drive these cars, they sound great. You hit the gas, and you're just like 15-second quarter mile. You're like, this car, like, literally a modern-day four-cylinder car is faster than a 1960 Camaro or Mustang or Cuda, whatever car you want to throw out there that was a muscle car of that time. And so when you get today's day, one, if you're like Jay and I, we live in California, so we have crazy carb laws and EPA laws and all that stuff.
Our cars. Not our classics.
Our cars, our new cars are off-road only operated vehicles.
Yeah, what are you talking about? My car's never seen anything but a track.
Never. Yes, DOT. Anyways, our classic cars are totally skirt that. So I believe it's 1976 or older currently in California. They're trying to push it into the 80s, but I don't think they're going to win that battle. Those cars in the 80s were terrible. And just that time frame for gas and how cars were built, it just was not a good time. They should just...
The 70s already were the dark ages.
They were. Well, that was the start. Like, I think it was at 73 when everything hit the fan and...
The oil crisis.
Yeah, the oil crisis, and that's another time. But back to how these cars were assembled and built. Like, you go in these old cars, they're not enjoyable. Like, I was able to go to Mecum Auction. I was able to go to Barrett Jackson this year, and I saw a factory restored 1970 Z28, numbers matching, had all the parts, fully restored. I mean, you're talking, they dumped like $150,000 into this car to make it perfect, you know, and it sold for $45,000. And it's like, what? And you go look at the car, and it's got these press plate wheels. It looks like it's built for off-roading, and I'm like, this car makes me hate the second gen Camaro. Like, I legit hate the way that car looks. Now, you go to a modern day setup where the pro touring term comes along, and I'll go over the terms here in a second, but pro touring is basically you take an old model and you put all modern day comforts on there. Suspension, braking, and that could also be motor. Some people can run an old style motor in there. Like, Jay has what would be considered a revisioned 350 block motor from the 60s. So what was it called? Like the ZZ something.
Yeah, because the ZZ was a motor code back then, but this ZZ6 is a GM crate motor that they redesigned in the early 2000s.
But it's still a 350, which is the same cubic inches that was in these cars when they rolled. Yeah, well, yes. There's differences there, but it has a modern day twist to it. Makes a heck of a lot more power. It's a lot easier to manage and tune. Like, his car is computer control, right? Is yours carbureted? No, it's carbureted. Never mind.
It's carbureted. Remember, Mike was tuning the
tuning the so his is carbureted still. Mine's going to be carbureted. I'll get there. I'm jumping. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm all over the place all the time, so I apologize. Jay's a little more methodical. Jay's a little more methodical, I think, in my opinion, in watching him, because I'm a big fan of his tech channels as well. So, but that being stated,
I did pretend really well.
he says I digress, and I say that being stated, like there's our battling words.
And that being digressed is what I should start
and that
saying.
being digressed. He's like, damn it, Lethal. No. But the way, like, if you see a resto mod, that means you're going to restore an old car. You're going to keep it looking old, but you're going to modify it. So there's going to be things that aren't factory original. If you pro touring,
it's like from the outside, maybe with the exception of the wheels and tires, it'll look factory.
Correct. And a pro touring setup is, again, full change suspension, full change motor, full change brakes. Usually people add full power steering, like just modern day amenities. You know, if you look at most pro touring cars, they have automatic windows, they have, you know, proper AC systems, upgraded radio, like everything's been completely redone. But as far as a resto mod goes, I'm kind of saying I have a pro touring resto mod, and people look at me like, what?
Well, I think mine is in that same category.
Yeah, because we're going for a modern day suspension. We want the cars to ride nice. We're adding a crap ton more power. Like my car will probably be 650 to the wheels on an NA motor. So we're building an LS7. We're putting a big old carburetor on it. We have a huge cam in it. We have built-in stage 3 heads on there. Like the thing's going to be making some power. But it's going to be all through modern day suspension. We have C5 Corvette brakes on the car, so that's much newer braking system, all disc brakes all the way around. Like Jay, right now you have drums on the back, right? On yours,
I have drums on the back, and it's factory ABS, or not ABS. When I say ABS, it's got factory disc in the front, but I am going to be modernizing the brakes.
Yeah. So and again, it's just fully changing how the car is going to handle, but I still want my car to look like a 1970 split bumper in a sense. So I'm going the RS style front end, but I'm taking liberties in the resto mod category where I'm taking all the trim off the car. So it's going to be perfectly smooth, aligned, gapped panels with very minimal trim pieces. And I'm pairing it up with carbon fiber, so it's going to look super clean and modern. Like carbon fiber wasn't a thing in the 60s, and if it was like for airplanes, not for vehicles, because it was like $2 million for maybe a square that big. No, I'm kidding. I don't have no idea, but
$2 million a square foot,
right? But it's just one of those things where I want AC in the car. Like Jay's car has AC, but he doesn't turn it on because I think he's crazy. But
it's funny. AC was a requirement for any car that I bought, and I got one fortunately that had the vintage air in it. But because they put a crate motor turnkey, that means it came with the accessory line, and it has the better compressor.
That's good.
So it's funny. A couple other vintage air cars that I got in, they just didn't blow very cold. I'm like, oh, what's the point of having this? But then this one, I'm like, oh, it actually blows kind of chilly. So I'm happy with that. And I told Mike that has to stay.
And then he never turns it on.
Well, for the wife and kids, man, I just want the fresh air out of the window. And I don't, if it's 90, I'm still fine.
The windows he hates. He's gonna learn to love those windows.
I don't drive with them closed. I open them every time the car's rolling.
They cool certain areas of his body that makes him happy.
Yeah. And if you're wearing shorts, it's even more effective.
Yes. Very yes. How do you... Oh, well, I'm not going to go to questions now. But, yeah, so the difference between pro touring and resto and factory restoration, like if you do a ground-up factory restoration on a second gen, you're insane because you're never going to get your money back. The only way with a Camaro is if you have a 1969 Copo ZL1 and you have the actual 427 aluminum block motor. That's the only way you're ever going to get your money back. That's $500,000 car.
I assume if you're doing a true factory resto, you'd have to be shopping for like all NOS parts, right?
You would have to shop all NOS parts, or you have to do the metal work and fix your original parts you have if you have them. So a lot of people will go out and get factory metal off another car from the same year and repair their metal with that metal so they could still say they have all factory metal. It's crazy the things that these companies and aftermarket shops do, and some of them do really good work and some of them do really shoddy work. But the ones that do really good work are really well known, and their cars sell for $500,000+. But you're talking ground up resto, 250 plus, like entry level. Like if you have a decent car with numbers matching, and in my opinion, they don't sell well because it's funny. A pro touring car. So at Barrett Jackson, I mentioned earlier, I saw a full ground up resto, factory resto car. $45,000 is what it sold for. A full resto car, not even with an LS7. It had a LS1 motor of all motors, which is a decent LS motor, but it's not the best you can get. And it didn't have the most modern of suspensions. Huh?
LS1's a 5.7?
I believe so. But that car sold for $76,000. And I'm like, okay, people want the resto. Like, they just want a pretty done car. And I would say the biggest curveball I've seen, and Jay probably saw it as well when he was shopping for cars, is you just never know what you're getting into. You know, it looks great from the photos, but then you look at the under chassis and you're like, oh God, they've spent no money down here. You know,
Look, even today, even today, I'm still texting you going, okay, I think we finally figured out what the original color of the car was. Like, once and for all, it was red.
I will say I did give Jake good news. So he came over. He had no idea what his car was factory. And I don't know if you've revealed that at all. And I can let you do that because I don't want to take that away from you if that's a thing. But
I haven't revealed it on my channel yet. I in a video that's gone live yet, I should say. I said it later.
So should we not say it?
No, I guess we could say it now.
Well, go ahead. You can tell people.
So I was telling Matt, for all I knew, my car could have been a base model, like straight six, because it didn't have.
I think you were pretty sold that it was a straight six.
Well, I was sold because I'm like, okay, why did they grind the numbers off the body plate? That tells you what the trim package is for the car, right? It didn't have any SS badges anywhere, and the nose grill. Now, granted, I highly doubt this is the grill from 1953 or 53 from 67, but it just said Camaro. It didn't say RS. It didn't say SS. It didn't say, obviously it wasn't a Z28 car. I don't think there were 67 Z28s. But I was like, why would it not be badged SS anywhere? So I just had been too lazy to do any sort of VIN lookup on the car. So I was actually down at Matt's place and he looked it up. He pulled the VIN code, and the car was built in Van Nuys, which makes me happy because they don't build cars in California anymore.
It's a California car. That's like
they don't even like cars. They don't even like cars driving in California anymore.
That is a holy grail moment in most Camaro lives, either it being built in Ohio or built in California. But California cars seem to fetch a little bit more money than Ohio-based cars.
But it explains why underneath the car for 53 years is really good in terms of corrosion and rust. It's a couple of trouble areas as normal, but it's not like if the car was at, say, upstate New York, it probably would have more holes than it has metal. But then we found out that it is indeed a V8 car. Now, unfortunately, the VIN information in 67 wasn't standardized until, a year or two later. So we don't know which V8 it had. You looked up what V8s were offered that year.
Correct.
Right?
Well, there was only
there were
two. There was only two. So there was the V8 that came in the SS, and then there was the V8 that came in the standard. And that doesn't really exist this day and age. Like, I found out my car's a 71, so it's the second year that they changed the body style from what Jay has. And there was technically three different V8s that you can get. You got the standard version, which I think was a 307. And that was the same with Jay's. It was a 307 or a 350. And then there was the 350, and then there was the 396, which was the Z28, like, oh, the good motor.
Yeah, and I know for a fact this car wasn't a big block car. So I'm pretty sure it was just a standard 350.
Yeah. And then if you look at the 69, why that's so special, because that was the Copo year, and they put in the ZL1, you can equip it with a 427 aluminum block, which was the first ever of its kind in a Camaro. Now, it was obviously seen in the Corvette, so they borrowed from some heritage there. We're always stealing from Big Brother.
You had to do some like order form trickery to get it.
Correct. Yeah, and there was only 69 that were allowed to be built, and that's why those cars are so unique and expensive. And the music right now is like Austin Powers. I'm changing the song. I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, let's start dancing. But yeah, so the 69 ZL1 427 Copo setup, that is a holy grail car. And that's one of those cars that you don't make a resto mod or a pro touring. You keep that car original because it's worth a lot of money, even in crappy.
I found one.
Did you?
When I was looking. Oh yeah, it was all papers and everything. It was $499,000.
Yeah. See, they're expensive. So
yeah, but you know what though? Part of me still kicks myself for not waiting to find a 69, but because I do love the way the body style looks on the 69. But at the same time, like we already talked about earlier, I'm happy with the 67 for a different reason. You know, the first of them all.
Well, Jay, we'll get a garage together, and then we'll just start getting multiple years.
It'd be like Forza. We're gonna have like 88 cars.
That's totally fine. As long as we have a couple lifts and a big toolbox, we're good.
Couple lifts, big toolbox, battery tenders, and someone to start them every now and then.
Air compressors for the grinders.
Oh yeah, you got to get the big like 100-gallon air compressor.
Yeah, no, it's
But so since we found out my car is a V8 car, I don't feel bad putting SS badges on it again, even though it may not have been an SS. But I guess I'm kind of like double standarding, I guess, because we talked all about how I don't like people putting ZL1 badges on non-ZL1 cars and Nismo badges on non-Nismo cars, and yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
I've decided I'm gonna work. There's a great company that makes emblems. They're called Emblem Pros, or emblempros.com, I believe is their site, and I'm gonna actually custom make badges for my car. So I don't
LG. Oh wait, that's already taken.
Stop it.
It's the Camaro LG.
I don't know what it's gonna be. It might just be like LS7 lethal LS7. I don't know. Something. I'm gonna come up with something that's gonna be a cool little. So I did it kind of on my 6th gen in a way, and I'm kind of sad because I need to redo it on the hood there. I felt like always having something on the hood, like the 5th gen ZL1s. They had the ZL1 right on the cowl. I feel that's really needed, and I'm not a big fan of like, oh, my cubic inches or
6th gen too.
Supercharger down the side. Like I don't. It's like, let's put carbureted on the hood, so just everybody knows I got a carburetor under here, and they don't even want to mess with it. But yeah, no.
I want my license plate to be EPA LOL.
I'm pretty sure that's probably taken.
I know.
You could be like
it is, because I tried to do
LOLs.
it
EPA LOLs, just LAWL. You could do like pwned, EPA pwned.
How about MORECO2? There we go.
All of it. Oh man.
More CO2.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Lethal 7S. Wait, what? I'm trying to understand what
Well, it would be Lethal S7 for LS7.
Yeah, I guess you could do lethal.
But then S7 sounds too much like an Audi.
Yeah. Here, let's see. Is there any questions there? Would adding LED headlights to a car during a restoration still considered yes? So if you're not running factory lights, it's considered. And I'm doing our halo lights with multiple adjustments: high beam, low beam, blinker, all that stuff. My lights will all be LED, front and rear on the car. I started
looking that stuff up for my car.
No one makes LEDs for my hash markers. I can't find them. And they're literally the same bulb for. Well, your car doesn't have hash markers. Yours is 67. But yeah, it's the same bulb in the 69. Yeah, punk. It was before hash markers were required.
Yeah, so you could see a car from the side.
Because that's the other interesting thing. So I believe it was either 73 or 74 where the federal government or whatever car agency required full bumpers on cars, and they ruined the 2nd gen with that, and they tried to save it. And I know Mike actually owns 2 2nd gens that are older. I think he has a 78 and a 76. I could be wrong on the years, but he's got 2 older, and he gets all mad at me when I call him coffin front ends, because like they changed the whole front end. I don't know why. I look at it now and it doesn't look like it, but for me it just, I don't know. They killed that front end. Coffin.
He has two 2nd gens now.
Yeah, at his dad's house out in Texas.
In Texas, yeah. Yeah, I guess I can get away with not having the bumpers on my car because they weren't required, huh?
Yeah, no, they were not required. Well, mine as well. I mean, I can add the bumperettes, but the cars either came with small bumperettes or the full bumpers, and then they had these weird, like, I almost want to pull it up so you guys can see how terrible these things look.
Let's face it, my bumpers are are not really bumpers. I guess neither are yours, but they're not really bumpers.
Well, they're tied. Mine are tied to the frame.
Yeah, they are, but I mean they're just solid, right? There's no absorption to them.
So these bumpers right here literally have like absorbers in them, and I guess there was a huge issue where they would just rot away, and it was not pretty. And I'm trying to get a better image here so I can show you guys.
I can't stand the way a 67 or 68 looks with the front bumper.
Let's see if I can, there we go. So it's like this weird bumper thing that they did, and you can kind of see the lower side, and they ruined the whole grill because they changed the whole front clip to like kind of go over the top side of that bumper, and it's not pretty.
You know what bugs me about the 69 is
What?
you've seen how some of the bumpers are just horizontal, but then some have those little pieces in the middle that go vertical.
Yep.
I don't like the ones with the vertical piece in the back and in the front. They look weird.
So this is a straight up drag car.
Ugh.
Oh, that's a video.
That red one you showed, that's ugh.
The one.
Yeah, because the stream is like a minute behind.
So here's a Pro Touring. Pro Touring restomod split bumper Z28. So, and this isn't a real RS car. They added the bumperette. So this car in this image, this is the common thing that second gen like diehards hate. So people add the bumperettes to a non-RS front end. So the RS front end has two little lights next to the headlights, which are your blinkers. And in the non-RSs, the blinkers are below the bumperettes. And so this is an actual conversion that's not an actual RS. So here's an actual RS. So you can see the inside lights next to the headlights. Has a 2.5 inch cowl. And this is, your standard second gen right here. Yeah.
God, I love Hugger Orange, but I don't want to be accused of copying Mike.
just call it orange. Orange peel orange.
Yeah, I love orange. Hugger Orange especially.
It's funny because the guy who I bought my car from, he was originally going to paint it orange, and he had the paint purchased in mixed. I have the can in my closet or whatever you want to call it out in the garage. It's literally, no, I won't. I can't do orange because my neighbor down the street has a 73 that's Hugger Orange as well. So it's like, can't do that.
But I feel like I would do Hugger Orange with like black instead of the white.
Yeah.
But silver and black I still think is my color scheme. I'm going to go with.
We'll call you Pumpkin. Hey, Pumpkin.
It's sleepy.
It's better than like that. You can get that. I almost call it diarrhea green with black. That people are walking. Yeah. I'm like, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that.
Yeah, there's this Z28 for sale not that far from here. That's that color with white stripes.
Like GM did it best like this, except they did it in a full bumper, so this will, oh gosh dang it.
You know what color was growing on me when I was searching?
These classic car sites.
And a few people were giving me a hard time when I said I liked it, and I wouldn't be surprised if you were one of them.
What?
I really like the butternut yellow.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just, to me, it just screams that era. It's a color you would never find on a car today.
There's an Instagram account that's called Save the Full Bumpers, and this is what they're talking about. So if you look, you can see originally these cars came out with literally a metal bumper that's like 2.5 inches thick. It looks really awkward, and I don't like it at all. But that blue, that's a beautiful blue. I don't know if I could do blue though. I'm not a blue guy.
Some of the 69 I wanted was blue. Remember it? My first Camaro was blue. Actually, both of them were blue. But my 92 was that medium quasar blue. I really like that color from GM.
And it's funny because I was kind of leaning towards a silver color, but as soon as you said you want to do silver, I was like, nope, can't do that.
You're gonna beat me to paint though.
No, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna step on your dream. Be like, I was talking to Matt, and I was saying I was gonna do silver, and he went and did silver. I hate lethal.
Do you think I'm not gonna change my mind 82 more times by the time it gets to a paint booth?
I'm sure you will. Yeah, maybe, but I think you're gonna. One thing I've noticed about myself is I always do a 360, and I come back around to the original colors I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of colors that my wife and I have kind of bounced off of each other, but I don't know. Like I'm to the point now where I almost just want to do a base color, and if I want to try different colors, I'll just wrap the car. Like just get a really good paint job, because obviously all the panels are metal. I don't have to worry about the bullcrap metal to plastic transitions and bad wrap jobs on plastic. But you know, I'm almost thinking of just going with a generic color and then be able to wrap the car whatever I want, and I can change it up like every quarter or something like that. But
so much labor though.
Yeah, but I don't have to do
Every
it.
quarter? You're gonna spend $20,000 a year on wraps?
You know, maybe someone will sponsor me and I can get discounted rate. I don't know. I
You get discounted work too.
Yeah, right.
I've seen. I'm not saying that any of the companies that you would talk to on wraps would do that, but I've seen in the car scene some of these guys that are sponsored by these wrap shops. They don't do their TLC type work because they know this guy's just gonna get a wild hair up his ass in 2 months and want it redone.
Yeah. Like for me, I'm super tempted to just have my cars match. Like why don't, because like my 6th gen, I think I love the way my 6th gen looks, and it's taking me 4 years to get it to where it's at. Not because I couldn't afford it, but I couldn't decide, or finally companies made all the parts that I wanted to change out in the fashion that I wanted. And that's one of the reasons.
And that's one of the reasons why I really wanted that white one I very first looked at, because I was like, oh, that'd be cool if they were the same color, like, you know, great grandfather and you know, a new one. But at the same time, I kind of veered away from that idea, because at the same time I kind of want them to be unique, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just tough. It's a like, we keep looking at different colors, because I keep telling my wife, like, I want this car to be us deciding on things, and I'm a terrible husband, and I've decided so much of it already. I'm like, yep, we're getting that, and yep, we're getting that, and I'm buying this, and I'm buying that. And my wife's like, we never talked about this. And I'm like, oh.
Like you said when I was at your house, and she was like, how come his black car's shiny? You're like, we're not doing black.
If I told her we're going to do black, that would instantly add 2 more months of body work to the car.
Yeah.
Like, just because
there's a reason why they use gray and black in the back of mirrors.
Yes.
It would show every damn imperfection and wrinkle and bump and everything.
And my picky eye would see it all, and I would have to spend the money to just go crazy on the bodywork. Like, literally, we'd have to bring the car back to 150 grit and go every finite detail. Like, almost have to feather fill the car like every other day between sanding, and make sure and use blocks that are like those huge, like 42-inch blocks, because it's like, it's gotta be straight and everything's gotta line up, because it's even off a little, it's gonna stand out. So,
and that's one of the reasons why I want silver, is because it's a deep enough color but light enough to where you don't see as many of the imperfections, but it's still a color with depth. And that's my problem with white. White lacks depth, you know. And but black, I never wanted a black car. The fact that I even bought this car shocked everyone, because it's black.
I think
people who know me are like, Jay with a black car?
Yes, it's gonna match his almost black truck.
Well, it's mostly silver.
Yeah, it's a pretty silver. It's like that metallic. I like it.
It's funny. You look at my my cars, and you just kind of go, does this guy even know what he likes? He's got a Z, he's got a Camaro, another Camaro, a Dodge, or not Dodge, but a Ram.
Yeah.
And since the wife has a Traverse, and I now have 3 Chevys, so now you can be like, oh, okay, he's clearly a Chevy fanboy. Maybe had a couple off days, but
a couple off days. It's terrible. You know how much hate I got when I got my Ram? Like, I had legit people like unfollowed, like so many people. Like, I think I lost about 3,000 followers the week that I got my Ram truck. Like, people were so devastated or pissed off at me that I didn't buy a Chevy or a GMC truck. And I was like, look, I needed a vehicle that could tow my car. That was the only reason why I bought a truck. Wasn't for any, like, I don't off-road. I did once, you know, and like, I don't do that stuff. And as much as I would love to, I don't have time, nor do I want to spend my effort in that area. And other people love that. That's great. Do what you do, but that's not me. So I was just like, I need a 2-wheel drive truck that can tow a freaking trailer with my car for race days. And Chevy wanted literally almost $12,000 more for a similar equipped vehicle. And I'm like, I'm not spending $12,000 for a bow tie, like just for a bow tie.
Not to mention, let's face it, the interior room on the Ram is way better.
Well, it's better, but I mean, I would say the quality of the interior on the model truck that I bought is definitely better in the Chevy. Like the Chevy did have nicer to touch materials, but that wasn't worth almost $12,000 to me. It just wasn't. And the Ram that I got had the gears already, had the bigger motor, and it was good to go. The only thing I had to do figure out was just to make sure it can tow the weight that I wanted to, because the lower end truck was literally at that. I think it's either 10,900 or 11,000 pound tow. So
the interior is what sold me on mine.
Yeah, I mean, I sit in your truck and I'm like, I am poverty truck. Like, it's funny.
It's funny because I didn't. So the whole time I was like, I will never own another Chrysler. It's because I had 3 just bad experiences with Chrysler.
Yeah.
But these were like 2004 through 2007, right? Models. And we're talking complete freaking lemons. I knew that there was a collaboration that took place with Fiat and all that with the redesigned Durango. Because I had 2 Durangos, that an older version and a newer version, but prior to the redesign, like the one you used to have. And it's like, okay, I knew that there was a design collaboration there and it was redesigned from the ground up and wouldn't have the issues that I had, but you had the experiences I had with Dodge. Yeah. You're like, I'm not even, never, ever.
We loved our Durangos. Just throwing that out there.
So, and they always look nice, and I had looked at them and the Citadel and all that. I was like, okay, these are nice, but man, a car looking nice is only part of the story, right?
Yes.
And quite honestly, it was the amount of coaxing that even Mike was giving me that day at Gosh. He was like, dude, he's like, I'll let you drive my truck. He's like, take my truck around the block. And I was like, no, it's fine. He's like, okay. He's like, do yourself a favor, just go to the dealership, test drive one. I was like, okay, fine. So I'm going to tell this story now when I bought my Ram, if that's cool.
That's totally fine.
Okay, so I was on my way to the Ram dealership. Actually, it wasn't even a Ram dealership. It was a Fiat Maserati that they just happened to be selling Ram trucks at too. Because I didn't even realize that. I knew Maserati was a part of Chrysler Group, but I forgot all about the Fiat thing. And so I was heading down to the Fiat dealership, and instead of hanging a left to the dealership, I just hung a right and went to Ford. And I went and looked at Raptors, and I was like, okay. First of all, I didn't like the salesman that walked up to me. He was kind of a prick to begin with, but
aren't they all?
Yeah, I was looking at the trucks, and I walked up to. There was like a blue one that was sitting out in front. You know, they always have their favorite trucks right in front of the showroom and stuff, right? So I was walking up to it, and I was like, man, what $92,000? What the hell, man? I was like, I thought these things were like
for
75.
A V6.
Yeah, but I was like, I thought these were like 75 because that's what SoCal Ford was showing, right? But that's MSRP, and of course, there's dealership markups on everything. And the guy was like telling me all the reasons why, I should get the Raptor and this and that. And I was like, well, maybe. I was like, I'll think about it. And he was like, what does it take to get me? You drive this bad boy home today, blah blah blah. And I was like, I said, there's 2 things you can't really get over, like you can't overcome. And he was like, what's that? I was like, one, I'm a torque and a V8 guy. He's like, this EcoBoost makes more power than either Chevy or Dodge and blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, but you can't make more torque. And I tow a race car, not a lot, but occasionally. And I want to know I'm going up the Grapevine with 7,000 or 8,000 pounds behind me. I'm not gonna be worried about it. And he was like, oh, okay, well, he's like, what's the other thing? I was like, I don't know, man. It's like, it's just something about an aluminum truck bothers me. And then he was like going into all the reasons why the aluminum is better and this and that. I was like, I tell you right now, I've seen enough Raptors folded in half because they jumped them wrong, And he was like, okay, well, guess we can't make a deal. I was like, nope, I guess not. I'm gonna go check out the Rebels. And he was like, ha, yeah, let's see how that goes. And I was like, okay, well, you have yourself a nice day. So I went right over to Fiat, and there was a bunch of Rebels. There was a lot of different 1500 models and a few 2500s, but it was just like Rebel Center. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought this was like the premium trim. Why are there so many?
It was the Fiat gods talking to Jay.
Well, I think because it was a Maserati dealership too, it was already like a little bit higher type of clientele. So they were trying to appeal to the top.
Well, trims, it is right? The higher end truck for the 1500s. Well,
it's the highest 1500, right? So I was looking around, and the guy walks up to me, and as soon as I park, and you know they're like vultures, right? Guy walks up to me and he's super chill. He was just like, "Hey, can I help you find something today?" And I was like, "You know, I just went and looked at some Raptors, and I said I got a mechanic buddy of mine who swears I should be checking out the 1500s, and I swear I would never own another Chrysler product." And he was like, "Well, what were your concerns with Chrysler?" And he immediately was asking what my problems were, and I was like, "Well, we had a 2004 Dakota that was a piece of crap. We had a 2003 Durango all-wheel drive that at 80,000 miles, like people nicknamed it the Sherman tank because of how much it shook and vibrated, and parts were falling off of it." And I was like, and then I had a 2007 that at 60,000 miles had 2 cracked manifolds and bad head gaskets. And I'm telling you, these are cars that I take care of. And he was like, yeah. He's like, Dodge had some pretty rough times in the early 2000s. He's like, but I can tell you right now that all of that's been addressed. It's all different. He's like, Ram and he went into the relationship with Fiat and all that, and how the penny pinchers were no longer making those decisions. And I'm like, okay, this, you know, someone trying to sell me a truck. So I'm kind of one ear out the other on a lot of it. And so I said, well, I'm interested in looking at a Rebel. I said, needs to be a V8, because I didn't even know they made a V6 Rebel. And I was like, okay, it needs to be a V8. I want the full size cab, not the half size rear. And then I'm interested in a tow package, right? So I've got the moose ears and all that crap.
Yes, moose ears.
Yeah. So we get in the truck, and he pulls it out. And I was originally looking at that kind of a gray blue color one that they got.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out, and it didn't have some of the options that I wanted. And then he was telling me about the e-torque, and I was like, e-torque? What the hell is e-torque? And he was explaining it to me and showing it to me under the hood and all that. So I was like, well, let's take a look at silver. So a silver and black one. And he pulls it out, takes a copy of my driver's license. He's like, all right, let's go for a drive. So we go on kind of an extended test drive, maybe like 5 miles or so, not just around the block. And we're driving it. And we're on our way back to the dealership, and he's like, so what are your thoughts? And I'm like, well, no, man, there's just one thing I can't really like answer. And he was like, what's that? I was like, what color I want. And he was like, so we can make a deal. I was like, yeah, I think I'll take a chance on this truck. We'll make a deal. So it's the exact one that I test drove is the one that I bought, obviously.
Nice.
And yeah, from that moment forward, I was like, it's the interior. A lot of people hate the copper and the red, but I love the two-tone. And then I realized the reason why I like the interior so much is it was a design collaborative effort with AMG. AMG helped design that interior.
Discord just discorded.
What happened?
Oh, wait. Did it?
I'm still here with you.
It freaked out. What did it do?
I can see you.
It's all broken.
Looks good on the screen.
Here, wait. I think it just unpopped out.
Oh.
Hold on. Let's get... We're still live. It's just the Discord window disappeared.
I don't know. It's still on the stream.
It will.
Let me let it catch up and see if it goes all wonky.
Well, I don't see it on.
Oh, yep, it's all black now. This is a podcast now, guys.
Hold on.
Now I can stuff my face and not look like a fatty. Oh no, it's back.
No, it's kind of back. Hold on.
It's like off to the side.
Window capture. There we go. Apologize, guys. I told you I'm not good at this stuff. There we go. It's off kilter. There. We're back in full picture. There, that was our foobar. You warned me. And it's funny because like something's been going on because like my screen has been like, you know, like when graphic cards start getting too hot or start failing, you see like the green and the colors. Well, it's just been like a random green flicker on my screen only. So that's gone now.
I see it in the stream. Yeah. It's just Discord.
Jay fixed it. It's broken. I fixed it. With I fixed it.
Let me drive an hour and a half to Matt's house real quick.
Yes, he'll be right over. I'll entertain you with a song. I'll sing. Hello. No. Anyways, so you got the gray truck and
I proceeded to put
silver.
What did I get it? I got it exactly a year ago last month. I got it April last year, and I put 12,000 miles on it already. I love this truck. I drive the crap out of it. I may have 14,000 miles, I think.
Wait,
I drive the crap out of it.
Oh, they're saying audio is doubled. Oh, maybe.
Are you monitoring your stream? Like, can you hear it?
I can. I can unmute. No, it's.
Is it playing back in one of your windows?
No, I think because I have a secondary Discord still attached, I just got rid of that.
Oh yeah, it does double audio. So
it's a lot like this, sort of, maybe like this.
Here.
Yeah. So when we talk now, it kind of sounds like that.
Oh God. Wait, I think
Are you?
I may have fixed it.
Stream? Like, can you hear
I think I fixed it.
That's what she said.
it? Lean back in one of your windows.
Oh, but the flickering's back now. Because I have a secondary Discord still attached. Let's see. Got rid of that.
Oh yeah, it does double audio. So
It's a lot like this.
Hold on.
sort of,
I'll
like
entertain
this.
you guys.
Yeah.
No, it's still doing it.
Any
What
Star
is-
Wars fans out there?
It's
Oh.
the Jedi.
I know why. I know why.
It's the Jedi. That's why.
I think I fixed it. We have to wait for it to cycle around, but I think I just fixed. I know why. I'm not going to tell you why. It was totally my fault.
Old time in radio. How's that?
Hey, guy. Hey, if you guys didn't know, Ricardo Salinas is in here. He is man, myth, and legend from Fast Tech Performance. If you guys need Camaro parts, go to fasttechperformance.com.
That's where I got my. Oh wait, hold on.
Crap. That's where I got my diodynamic LED corner lights
why?
at CamaroCon.
It's the Jedi. That's why.
Let's see if it goes away now. I think I fixed it. I did. I fixed it. See, he's saying it's still not fixed, but it's fixed now. It should be good now. Yeah, everybody's saying yeah, it's fixed. So, noob streamer. No, it totally was. So I went to go add the Discord again. I'm going to tell you what happened. I went to add the Discord again, and I went too low, and I added the audio again twice. So it had double audio. Because when I scrolled up on the little sources window, it's all audio. And I'm like, oh, that's the problem. Anyway, thanks. Do you have like a crowd cheering sound?
No, we don't do positives around
Oh,
here.
come on.
All right, fine. Here, I'll add one. Hold on.
Jay's going to get positive on us.
Oh, we got this.
Although I got to figure out why only my Discord window is doing the green flashy things. My graphics card's not running hot. My temps are showing like it's super chill right now.
You broke it.
I guess. Whatever.
I'm still trying to find this. Hold on.
He's still trying to find a sound. Oh, the sound. The sound. So I got a heresy story while Jay's looking for something right now. So as many of you guys may or may not know, I don't know how many people are in the chat who are here from Jay's channel or from the Lethal channel, but my dad recently bought a 5th gen 45th anniversary Camaro. His birthday was yesterday, which is awesome, and I was planning to finally lower his car thanks to Fast Tech Performance and their epic lowering springs. And my dad calls me up and tells me, hey, I think I'm going to put my Camaro up for sale. I'm like, what? And I'm like, you've been dreaming of a V8 Camaro forever. Well, to reverse a little bit, my dad's been working part-time at our local Chevy dealership where I bought my car, Paradise Chevrolet, and he's been like shuttling people or going to pick up cars or picking up auction cars for the used car lot, etc., etc. And he has fallen in love with the Chevy Colorado. So he wants a truck. And I'm like, what? Heresy. You cannot get rid of a Camaro for a truck. So I'm almost tempted to buy my dad's 5th gen off him. Kind of a switch because my dad bought my 5th gen off me when I bought my 6th gen. So maybe.
Oh, that was your car? The black, is it red or black?
No, it was white. The white one. So it was before he got the 45th anniversary SS. Because someone T-boned the original Lethal Camaro and it got crushed. Cars' dreams are crushed forever. But yeah.
Sucks.
Anyway, so my dad's looking at trucks now. What the heck? What am I supposed to feel? I don't know how I feel about this. I feel betrayed. My dad, he is 74 years old, and he's prayers for my dad. He's had health issues with diabetes his entire life, and it's starting to attack his kidneys. So I'm blessed that my dad is the age he's at, but things have been kind of going downhill for him. So yeah.
Oh, that stinks.
So whatever makes him happy, I guess. Get him a truck. Get that man a truck. But maybe I'll keep the 5th gen. Do a full ZL1 swap. Put an LSA in there and call it a day. Go race Jay.
Done.
Are you still looking for a sound?
Yeah, I'm not that good at the Googles.
So how does that sound mixer work? You can just attach sounds to the different buttons? Is that kind of...
Yeah, pretty much. There's like there's 6 different profiles, and each one has an A, B, and C, and each A, B, and C has 4, so it's 4 times 3 times 6, right? That's how many of them you can do. And then I can even record like something on the fly and then make it playback.
Yeah.
All kinds of stupid stuff.
You know, I have to kind of highlight something. And Ricardo, he just responded. Well, he responded a little bit ago.
All right, here we
He's
go.
like, oh,
Say, now that the stream is fixed, go ahead and say it again. Stream's fixed.
stream's fixed. Really? children cheering. Okay, back to Ricardo. So, just something to throw out there. So, I gave Ricardo props because rightfully so. When I started my YouTube channel, I never assumed anybody would ever watch my videos. And still to this day, it baffles my mind. But I'm glad because I had always thought that I can provide helpful videos that can potentially help someone else. And it seems like I've been able to do that. But Ricardo and Fast Tech Performance were literally the first company. Before, I think I had 2,000 followers on Instagram and like less than 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. And they just said, hey, we like what you're doing. Let us know how we can help you out. And I was like, really? Like, you know, it's like you hear people like, oh, I want to get sponsors. I want to have sponsorships. I want to get all these free car parts. I want to do all this stuff. And I never dreamed in a million years. Like the partnership we had, or I still have with Fast Tech, has always been, you know, some stuff we've been able to work out deals with companies where I didn't have to pay for parts, and I've always been transparent about those things in videos, and other stuff I just get a deal on. And it's one thing that Fast Tech's always been great about, that not only a great company to work with, great people over there, but their customer service is always great. Their just responsiveness, their support of the community has always been amazing for the Camaro world. Like, there's not many companies out there that have supported the Camaro world like Fast Tech has. And just a big shout out. So if you guys are ever looking for car parts, it's mostly late model. They also do trucks now for the Silverados. But yeah, Fast Tech Performance. Check them out. Thank you, Ricardo. And Jason. I don't think Jason's watching right now, but, you know, give him a big high five. And, you know, I hope they know how much I appreciate them. You know, they used to promote my channel or let people know about me or direct my guides or even post my install guides on their product pages. But since then, Ricardo's become a YouTube superstar and has become part of their videos and stuff. And they used to do live streams and stuff.
I've watched some of their install videos on their
they're
shop,
good. They're
one only.
I honestly think they're way better than mine. But obviously, they're from a perspective of a company selling parts. So some people don't. I don't know. It's kind of weird, right? It's like Corsair. You know, like what if Corsair made a video reviewing their own block? You know, it's like,
yeah,
people don't necessarily trust that per se. But
I'll be honest. I was a little disappointed because when I got the 67, the first site I went to was Fast Tech, but I didn't realize that they only did like 5th and 6th gen stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, but anyway.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I had to go to other people to work on my classic. Thanks, Ricardo. Jeez, I thought Fast Tech was gonna broaden out.
Fast Tech, not Classic Tech.
It's classic. Faz classic. Fastic.
That's Classic Tech.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it opened the doors for a lot of things. And honestly, I've made a lot of really good friends in the industry because of Fast Tech. Like, I would have never have become friends or know Stainless Works like I do now if it wasn't for Fast Tech. Like that was a huge one. Or same with RotoFab. That was a huge one. I love the guys at RotoFab. Got to know Mike and all of them over there, and they make great products. And it makes it really easy to work with companies when they make really good products and they stand behind them. I mean, I'm sure, Jay, you probably run into this in your tech channel. How many emails do you get from Chinese companies trying to get you to hawk a case or a fan or a mouse or
It's not even that. It's
like,
battery banks and
right?
like earbuds and every morning I wake up, I've got to delete like 15 or 20 emails.
Like I got an email the other day asking if I would review a refrigerator. Like legit review it. I'm like, really? Like some Chinese company, like, hey, would you review our refrigerator? We think your channel's really good. We just watched this. And it's like, you could tell it's like a total templatized email that just pulled a random video from my channel. We watched your video on brake pad replacements, and we want you to review our refrigerator.
Well, yeah, you'll get like, we loved your most recent upload.
Yes, that is the number one email.
Yeah. But what's funny is I've had makeup companies be like, we would love to advertise in your channel. I'm like, okay. The other thing that's kind of funny too is like, I find the silver lining in everything, but for a while there, none of those emails from China were coming, and it was kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now that they're kind of like business as usual, the emails have like ramped up again.
I always felt like as the channel grew, especially on Instagram, like you kind of graduated. Like it started off with like the tire letter guys. Like, hey man, we see you got a lot of followers. We'd love it if you check out our product. And then it went to the lighting people.
Hawk our stickers.
Then it was like, do you like LED lighting? And I'm like, I already have LED lighting on my car. I'm pretty.
Do you want more LED lighting?
And then it went to like the next tier of like we make performance brake rotor lines. I'm like, what the hell's performance brake rotor lines? There's no like, it's I swear a company asked me to like advertise blinker fluid at one point. Like it's, I don't know. Like I don't get nearly the kind of stuff that you probably get, but it's been funny the kind of companies that have reached out. You know,
you get the exact same stuff, and it's just I get more of it. You know, that's the only difference there.
Yeah, baby. And I don't know if I mentioned this at the start of the stream, but we just passed over 60,000 subscribers on Lethal Garage, which for me, I remember back when I was like, I'd be happy if I ever hit 5,000. So the fact that we've even gotten this far, it's pretty crazy to me. And it honestly has helped fuel a hobby that has grown out of control. If it wasn't for you guys in the Lethal Garage and my son, the 71 build now, like so many things have been supported, in the support from the Camaro community in the world has been pretty freaking amazing. I mean, even Jay supported Camaro Con. Like the happenstance that I met Jay when I did was, I think, stars aligning. Like
it's funny because the person that introduced me to you was also an up and coming.
Yeah, that's crazy. So we met at my old job at EA. He came to an event with his daughter. Shockingly, you were coming to see some Sims expansion, right? Or something like that.
Well, I was there to check out Battlefield 1, obviously.
Yeah.
But she was there to nerd out over Sims 4 because she's kind of moved on to like the more typical, I guess, teenage titles versus like what she was into then. But like, yeah, she was every day. Can I have it? I want a pack. I want a new pack. I want a new pack of all the Sim stuff.
No, but I mean, and then Jay was like, hey, you're that Camaro. Like we had a couple emails back and forth with each other after we got introduced before the show.
But I had seen your videos before.
Yeah.
Prior to
And
that.
so
I was like, because it's when I was looking up the ZL11LE stuff, and I couldn't find a ZL11LE video. Like I couldn't search for it without your channel coming up. So you clearly had the Camaro stuff like on SEO lockdown, right? But like,
I don't know
I
how.
found there was a video specifically of like you racing a stock ZL1 in your SS, and you like whooped his ass, and that was after you had the Pro Charger and stuff. But I was just like, who's this guy? And then I found the video of you breaking your drive shaft, and I was like, oh, I know. And then when I saw you, I was like, oh, you're the guy that broke your car. I remember you.
That was a sad day. But
well, your facial expression when it broke, like I think was what everyone was feeling at that moment. That oh no,
I knew exactly what it was, and it was like, oh, please not have broken the entire underside of the car. And again, Fast Tech. Another plug for Fast Tech. They got me a drive shaft like that. I had a chromoly drive shaft at my house, I think 4 days after it happened. And that was, no one had stock. Like, I think Ricardo's like, I think I have one on the shelf. Maybe. Let me get back to you. And we were able to get it real quick. And that was a huge awesomeness, because at that time I daily drove my car to work. Like I couldn't have my car I didn't have the truck. I didn't, I was like, sorry honey, I gotta take your freaking Suburban because my car's broken. But no, that was good times. But
Sideways asked a question which is I think easily answered. He says, do you see yourself doing ZL11LE track day videos, like showing how to set up your car and what is needed to bring to a track day, stuff like that? I have started that video so many times. But what happens is I get there and then I'm doing the things I need to do and I can't stop to video it because you only have so much time between events and when you have to be at the driver's meeting and registration and tech and all that stuff. So I've got one when I did the ZL or the Nismo because Nick was filming it for me. But for me in the ZL1, there's not a lot of setup to do. All I do is make sure I've got good brake fluid. It's freshly bled. I switch to my track pads, and then I pack my toolkit and my spare parts kit, because I always bring spare parts with me: spare brake fluid, spare oil, spare coolant, a couple of. Anytime something breaks on me on the track, I add it to the toolkit. So I always have a spare belts, spare pads, spare wheels, right? And that stuff all just gets thrown in the truck. But I'm fortunate that the 1LE doesn't require much setup. Like, I run on the street the same alignment specs, the same suspension settings, everything as I do on the track. But that's because I don't daily the car, so I can get away with it. I'm not putting tons of daily miles on, although I do have 20,000 miles on the car now. But yeah, I mean, it would be a great video, but it's just really difficult for me to shoot that video and do the track day.
You're gonna pass me on miles here pretty soon. My car has been stagnant at 21,000 miles. I think I've put. Well, actually, no. I drove it quite a bit 2 weekends ago when I did my last drive with me video, because I had to burn down the C16. Because I'm like, I either burn down the C16 by driving or not. But it's amazing. Like, it's kind of the same thing with drag racing. You talk about kind of building a toolkit, but I never bring everything that's needed. Like, I always forget something. Do you ever find yourself doing that when you're going to the track? Like, totally forgot half of the stuff I needed.
And when I was starting up track days again, yeah, but now I've got a pretty extensive like tub. Like, this tub is for the Camaro and this tub is for the Z, and yeah, so it's got it's like essential items in there for the racing stuff. But
I'd love to see a video of you just driving at the track, not even prepping, but just Jay going at it.
I've got some up. They're on the
Z, in the ZL1. Sorry, the ZLE.
I've got one of the ZL1
on the car channel.
No, it's on the main channel.
Oh, see, it's probably buried. I missed it.
Yeah, I didn't do a video of it at Chuck Walla when I broke in the car, but I did it like the next month at Button Willow.
Yeah.
And then at ACS, I brought 4 GoPros with me and didn't put a single one on the car. Well, because I just got busy, getting the car and everything like ready and set up. And we were you weren't there, but Mike was there. We were adjusting sway bar, and then we ended up melting the NOx sensor on the driver's side, and so we were dealing with that kind of stuff.
Are you going to carry extra NOx sensors with you?
Well, no. What was happening? So in my second session or third session, I got an engine light that came on. I'm like, not again. I was like, the car's driving fine. There was a really weird kind of a hiccup though, coming out of the hairpin right-hand turn. Picking up the throttle, it would kind of have like a little and it would go, right? Like a weird, just kind of a hiccup. I was like, that's odd. But then the engine light came on. I was like, okay, it's not like last time where the whole fuel pump would just cut off. And let's face it, racing and fuel cut is not a good thing. So I brought it to Mike, and he scanned the car, and he was listening to it while I was running. He's like, well, it doesn't sound hurt. He's like, all the tables look good, all the numbers are good while logging. The engine's not hurt. He's like, it's a circuit performance code for NOx sensor bank 1. And I was like, what does that mean, performance code? He's like, well, it's not saying the car is throwing excessive knock. It's saying that the sensor is like not communicating. And I was like, oh, okay, so what do I do? He's like, send it. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, the worst that'll happen is the car will fall back in a failsafe. He's like, just send it. So I did, and that's where I got those fast sessions I told you about, where I caught the ZR1 and all that. So shortly after that is when we did the valve spring replacement. And that's when we were looking under the car, and I was like, let's find out what's going on with that. So he was like, oh, yeah, we're melting it. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, long tube header problems, right? So he built a heat shield for it. And he's like, we should be good to go after that. But these are the kinds of things that when you start modifying a car that are going to inevitably happen. You're going to be chasing these little gremlins.
Yep. Yeah, for me, like drag racing, my list is pretty simple because I have a trailer, so I don't have to really worry about carrying too much stuff because we could just put the car back on the trailer.
Right.
But it's air pressure sensor and I blow up the tire. My new Milwaukee like air compressor tool thing is like the gym. Like that's all I need, and then I have like my racing jackets and all that stuff to be safe. But those are always in my car, and I just got all brand new. I got a 2-piece suit now, Jay. I don't have to be Mr. like single suit, can't get out. Like, oh god.
But I run a single suit for road racing because you have to.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
you don't have to run a single suit. It's just those are the approved ones.
yeah. For NHRA, if I went any faster, I'd have to have a full one-piece suit. But 850 bracket, I could do two-piece, no problem. Like, I'm a big guy, so, and it's funny because I brought like a half size too small, but it's all like no one makes a bigger one-piece suit like for me, and
Yeah.
they're always out of stock.
I've got the biggest suit that OMP makes, and it's like maybe a quarter size too big pre-coronavirus. Like now, it's probably
Well,
a half size too small.
Don't bring that up, Jay. Don't bring that up. I'm more than a few pounds heavier than I was pre.
Yeah, I know. There was a real thing everyone was talking about called the COVID-15, and I was like, 15, man, I'm working on the COVID-20. What are you all waiting for? But no, we're actually starting our routine back on Monday.
Yeah,
Getting hard.
nice.
It's gonna hurt.
I was
I'm not
doing
gonna be
really
able to lift the
good.
wrench.
I was down almost 35 pounds and
Yeah.
doing my plexus shakes and staying away from all the my evil enemies, soda and energy drinks and stuff. And I was feeling good too. That's the one thing I miss now. Like
Yeah.
I feel unhealthy right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
And-
feel it like hanging off you. You know.
So, and it's just, it got to a point before I lost those 35 pounds, I'm out in the garage and I can hear myself labor breathing, working on my car. And I'm like, I don't want my life to be this. And so
That's what we
And
sounded
I'm-
like in this video. Just wait.
I'm already a heavy breather. Like, I'm a heavy breather. Just,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's I've had asthma my entire life, and maybe that has something to do with it, but I don't know. But
I think I decided I am gonna put the car video live tonight when we're done.
oh man,
Dude, it's worth.
I'm
it's
interested to find
24
out. I don't remember what things I've said or did or anything like that.
No,
So
it's usually just you and Phil picking on me, but it's fine.
I wasn't trying to pick on you. It was just funny.
That's okay.
Moments.
The picking went both ways. There was times you were mocking me or making faces at me to the camera, and I couldn't see you. And let's just say I don't feel bad now for doing it to you.
High fives. Just high fives.
I think there might.
Good.
I haven't seen the video, but it's just. I'll tell you what Phil said.
What does the thumbnail look like? What thumbnail did he go
I
with?
haven't made the thumbnail yet.
Oh.
Let's see. He was like, hey, he's like, it should be done about 1 p.m. I was like, cool. And then at like 2, I was like, hey, are we good? He was like, yeah, I got behind on the vlogs. I'm just trying to make it make more sense than 20 minutes of outtakes and you hurting yourself.
That's about. You probably had enough content to do that.
Yeah. So the video is 24 minutes long. But
Wow.
I can tell you with what I was seeing when we were editing some of it yesterday, it's yeah. Let's just say there's that one point in the next video that we filmed after that. I'm like, I don't know if I have what it takes to do this. Like, guys, I don't know if I have the skill to rebuild this car. So
I was kind of harassing you to man up a little bit because you seem to give up real quick. I don't know if that's normal. Is that normal for you?
no, I don't give up real quick. I don't know
if it was you giving up or just you just like, fine, you do it.
If it were just me, like I've worked on this car plenty with just myself. Remember, I
Yeah.
went in there the next day and took the spring off and put it all back into place myself, right?
Yeah.
I think when I'm just hanging out with people, I just kind of like, whatever. But like when it's just me, it's like down to business, get it done. You know what I mean?
No, it was
Totally
fun.
different. Like when I do the front end, that I have a feeling that'll be a whole different, like more seriousness. But
I'll be honest. What we did in that video, I miss. Like I used to do that in my garage with Maple Fed and Corn Fed and Ghost Eye and all those guys. Like, I miss that. Like, it's like this whole COVID stuff has just. I mean, it was already kind of dwindling anyways because like people, it's been years. Like they don't want to work on cars anymore. But
yeah,
it's like I need to get this back with all those people in the garage working on cars. Like I love that, and that's fun. And you allowed me to have that weekend this last, and I don't know how much I was even helpful in the whole situation of it all, but
I know you were really helpful. Like, I mean, let's face it, I could do anything I really need to do on this car myself, but what was really helpful, obviously, was having the extra, manpower there because those things are not light, and then
in the awkward positions. It's like,
Yeah, there is one scene where it just looks like flailing limbs everywhere. It's kind of funny though.
Nice. Or yeah, and it's just I find out all the instances of wow, this was a lot easier on my car because I did not have a fuel tank installed.
Yeah, you didn't have a car in the way.
I didn't have all the little things. It was like, yeah, we'll just put that right there, done. And then I felt better when I Googled it, and it was like, it's a PETA, and I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah, but then remember, I ordered new U-bolts, and I was like, wait a minute, the diameter of these bolts is not the same.
Yeah.
So it's like the inner measurement, right? Because when you measure U-bolts, you measure the inner measurement between the bolt and then the outer measurement.
Did you go back and caveat that at all in this video, or are you gonna have to do that in a later video if you do?
No,
it
I did it. I did it.
Oh, okay.
So I finished the video 3 days later.
Ghost Eye's here.
Later.
Ghost Eye, you gotta. Where are you, man? I know you're not doing concerts right now. You gotta come down, and hang out, man.
So yeah, we found out not only were we really just fighting it, it was the wrong part to begin with.
Yeah, those U-bolts were. But it still makes no sense that the passenger side was just like done. I was like, okay, and then the driver's side's just like, I don't like you guys. I'm not gonna cooperate.
Yeah, on Sunday when I'm down at Mike's, we're gonna be doing the block too to get a little more like. So it's funny. My car is a half an inch higher with the cow tracks and
you mean
spring.
the spacer block to lower it a little more? Okay, yeah.
So my car is a half inch higher than it was with the Hotchkiss because the Hotchkiss is a 1.5 inch drop and the Calvert is 1 inch. So yeah, it's actually taller in the back than when we started, which is kind of funny. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna do the 2 inch. It's doing 2 inches up front and then I guess it'd be a total of 3 in the back with the block.
Yeah, because I think mine will be a 2 inch. No, I think it's 3 inch drop in the back, 2 inch in the front.
See, I would much rather have. Yeah, so we're doing the same, 3 in the back, 2 in the front.
But my front's adjustable, so I can get more out of it.
I'm not doing coilover right now. I might later, but for right now, I'm not doing. I looked at doing the QA1 full coilover conversion for the front and the arms and everything that they got. But yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things. Like, part of me wants to. I might consider doing like an actual 3-inch lowering spring in the back.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little sketched out about the idea of having the blocks, because that puts even more torque angle right on the mounting point because the axle's farther away from it.
Can you now? I know you were kind of going back and forth on keeping the cow tracks or not, but can you adjust? Will putting the block throw off the angle of the cow tracks, or are you able to adjust the cow tracks to compensate?
I'm going to assume they could be adjusted to compensate because Mike says that's his setup.
Okay.
Mike's also running a 1-inch spacer.
Okay. Yeah.
So
if Mike says it's going to work, I believe him.
But you know what's funny is, from everything I've read about the spacers, that's one of the things that probably led to him bending his perch, because it creates a whole different leverage point.
Yeah.
Because it's farther away from the spring. So, yeah, but I don't think with my horsepower numbers, and I'm not building a lateral G-force like grip car or anything. It's really just a high horsepower fun car. It'll probably never be a problem for me.
You're never going to go down a sticky track, or if you do, you're not going to put the kind of force that, because Mike's just like, I mean, if he could put that gas pedal any further through the floor, he would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean,
down the road.
I mean, if there's any person that's going to beat the heck out of a setup, it's Mike. And the fact that he can even get launch, like, I don't think he ever had wheel spin issues that I ever saw.
No, and his setup is all wrong according to the drag racers.
Of course, but he beats all of their cars no problem, and they get pissed off. They're like, "Oh, leaf spring car's never gonna beat us. Oh, gas shocks. Oh." And Mike's just like, "Blah." 9-second pass.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that car's awesome. I can't wait to see. I keep telling him, because he's like, "Oh, when I get my big block, your 6th gen's done. You're never gonna be able to catch up." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna beat."
6th gen was never meant to beat it, though, was it?
No, but I'm like, I'm gonna beat you in the first go around before you dial it in, so then I could say I beat you with your big block.
Yeah,
because that's gonna be my only chance, unless we really. I mean, we're gonna crank up my 6th gen. Don't get me wrong. We're going 20 pounds psi. We're adding methanol. We're pulling her down. Like, we are full sending this car. It's happening. And I know a lot of guys on my channel have been mad that I haven't been posting a lot of 6th gen content, but it was for good reason. The 71 needed to get done, and I'm glad it did. But we're gonna go right back into it. So we're going for 8s, boys and girls. We're gonna have 8-second 6th-gen car on our hands. We'll be one of the few. I don't think there's more than 5 people that have gone faster than 8s right now with 6th generation Camaro. So even if I could be one of the top 10, I'll be a happy person. I'll be good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll never be the fastest though. Those guys are putting so much money and time in those cars. Like Mike Swanson, I have mad respect for him. Like he had a car fire, he rebuilt from that. He has hurt his motor, rebuilt from that, and he's still running 8.4 and going faster. Like holy cow.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like there's guys out there with bone stock ZL1 1LEs that destroy me on the track. You know, because it's driver at that point, obviously. But
yeah,
I think it's time for dinner for me.
I think I was about to say we're kind of at that point. We've been live for
2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. So I think that's a good wrap up. I do huge thank you to Jay. Thank you for joining me on this live stream.
It's fun. I can talk cars on a channel expected to talk cars and have not everyone be like, "Why are you talking cars? You're not talking tech."
Where's that new CPU? Someone did ask a question. If you were to compare your car to a GPU, which GPU would it be? That was an earlier question when they were saying you were talking too much.
Wow, it depends. See, that's the problem. Like GPUs are
I'm
designed to
gonna
give you
answer,
FPS, right?
I'm gonna answer that question for him. It's an AMD GPU because it's slower.
See, but
hey, just so you know,
put a couple of bends in that drag strip, and then it's a Titan RTX.
I bleed green. No, it's all good. But yes, Jay, thank you very much for joining me here in this Lethal Live. I'm hoping I could do these more often. I like this setup. Do you guys like this setup? Did you guys enjoy this? It was obviously a lot longer. I didn't think we'd go this long, to be honest. So hopefully the quality was good. Yes, we had some sound problems, but
audio is really good, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, so we're good. So again, thank you, Jay, for joining. If you guys don't know Jay's 2 cents for his tech side stuff, check him out there. Jay's 2 cents on YouTube, or he has his Jay's 2 cars. He has more than 2 cars now, but Jay's 2 Cars is also an awesome channel. Sounds like he's going to go live with a video that does feature some lethal me in it, and I have no idea what he kept and cut, but there was some good shenanigan fun.
I don't either. I'm going to be watching it for the first time when it goes live, too.
You have to text me when you flip it live so I can be among the first to see it, because much as I lived it, I want to see how it all came together.
I need to make a thumbnail for it, and I'm aiming for 7 o'clock, which is 30 minutes from now.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I uploaded it while we were live streaming, and it's already all processed and stuff, so we're good.
I'm now. You have to before you go live, text me what the thumbnail is gonna be, because
okay,
I know that will be like, okay, this is what this video is gonna be.
I know he grabbed like 4 or 5 potential ones for me to work off of, and I don't know. It's gonna be as derpy as a bit, guys. If you're expecting a professional, like, here's how you loosen the bolt to do, no. It starts that way. Let's just say there was an hour like an hour and 53 minutes of footage, or I think actually over 2 hours. And we were at like minute 47. We were like, we got the first bolt out. It was bad. It was bad. But
it wasn't my fault.
Look, if you are looking for a video that's like, hey, this guy kind of has never done any sort of restoration / rebuilding of an old car like this, and I haven't done a leaf spring suspension since I had my 85 Ranger, which is back in high school. You expect everything to go exactly as you would.
Yes.
If this guy is like, what socket do I need? You know, it's bad. I can work on cars. I built my Z. I built that from the bottom up. Everything, even the roll cage, I did myself. But for some reason, I get in the '67 Camaro and I'm like, oh, which way's left? You know, it's what makes it funny. So whatever.
Either or. We appreciate it, Jay. Thanks for swinging by. Maybe we can do this again sometime. But
yeah, I'm always down.
Until next time, everyone. I do hope to see you on the road.